There was a paper leak in Punjab and students were lathi charged in Punjab. There was a paper leak where a bribe of 80 lakh was charged in Karnataka. Did you see any member from the protest site at least acknowledge the fact, or was the end goal of the protest merely selective accountability?
Because the three arms of democracy failed us, 1,000 legs marched towards the hope of a brighter future.
Because protest is never the first language of democracy. It is the language citizens adopt when there is a closing up of institutional orders.
I cannot expect that I would be violent towards a security personnel and there will be no retaliation.
And there was no accountability asked for Punjab, where paper leak has happened. There's no accountability asked for Karnataka, where paper leak has happened. Youth also belongs to that part of the country. Please do not forget. Do not be selective. You are youth, they are politicians.
ये तो डेमोक्रेसी है ना, जनता जो मांगेगी उसको मिलेगा. अब जनता ने शिक्षा मांगी, अब सरकारों को देनी पड़ेगी.
As the founder of the Delhi Union, it brings me immense pleasure to bring a panel of this caliber in front of you, especially at such short notice. This debate was organized, as you can probably tell, within the last 2 days because of the emergency of the topic. This is also our first emergency debate. I know what many of you may be thinking, now that the Education Minister has resigned, what's the point of this debate? But as you know, our platform is never merely situational. Our debates are designed to examine long-term impact, carrying a longevity which far outlasts any individual or political shift. That said, Mr. Pradhan has certainly picked the right day to resign. We announced our debate on Friday, and lo and behold, by Saturday, the minister had stepped down. Before introducing the panel, I want to share two messages sent by very esteemed gentlemen who couldn't join us in person here today, but still want to convey two very short messages. Firstly, Mr. Gurcharan Das, the former CEO of Procter & Gamble, wanted to tell all of us as a youth that the mobile phone has officially become the most vital tool of democracy, and it must remain so. Dr. Karan Singh, former Union Minister of Education and statesman, also wanted to say that this entire situation could have been neatly avoided had the Education Minister resigned right after the NEET's exam issues. And I'm sure the opposition would be ready to counter that one. The anger on the ground is quite palpable, and the escalations we've witnessed, both on the parts of the protesters and the police, have been quite troubling over the past couple of days. To give you an idea of how indiscriminate it has been, a friend of mine who actually supports the BJP found himself just walking around Connaught Place at the receiving end of the baton and promised never to vote for them again. That is precisely why we're having this controversial and conversation today. We're honored to be joined by an incredible lineup of guests across the political and student spectrum. First of all, Mr. Pradeep Gandhi is joining us, former MP of the Bharatiya Janata Party, and someone who's known to all the MPs perhaps. He's the chairman of the Ex-MPs Association and has been a vocal proponent of the BJP for decades. Mr. Pradeep Bhandari is also joining us, BJP spokesperson, psephologist, currently or former, has been a known face in the media for a long time. You might have seen him on Republic before, but now he appears as a panelist. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhandari, for joining us. Mr. Ronak Khatri, the former DUSU president and a leading voice in the NSUI, will also be joining us shortly. He's actually been stopped by the police. And he promised me, Shivom bhai, hum aa rahe hain, thoda late honge. Ms. Karanwal, former DUSU secretary and joint secretary for Delhi State for ABVP, is also present, and she'll be presenting the students' opinions from the ABVP's perspective. Ms. Amulya Dhawan, who manages the media efforts and has served as an integral part of the movement as the media in charge of the CJP, but not officially representing the CJP, will also be present to give her opinions. Ms. Anushka Ghosh, a student protester straight from the site, representing from the voice of the youth, and she has said to me, quote unquote, someone who's frankly sick and tired of the system is also present with us today. It brings me great joy to host a forum where every side of such a sensitive issue is fairly represented. In fact, related talks were just taking place on the floor right below us yesterday. So the longitude and latitude of our discussion and the talk between Saurav Das and JP Nadda is the same. It's just the altitude, because that happened on the first floor, this is happening on the second floor. Now that we have the students, student leaders, police veterans, as Satyapal Singh ji is in the audience, former Minister of Education, by the way, media coordinators, party spokespersons, today must go simply beyond airing grievances, because I'm sure we have a lot. We need to move towards real constructive solutions. We have the right minds in this room to propose actual policy fixes and actionable solutions. My sincere thanks to each one of our panelists for being here on such short notice and for fueling the spirit of peaceful and rigorous discourse. With that, I will hand over to my good friend Ronak Khatri, who also serves as the Vice President of the Union, who will walk you through the rules and guidelines before we commence. I thank you all for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ruhan Raj Gaggar and have the privilege of serving as the Vice President of the Delhi Union. I extend a warm welcome to all of our speakers, guests, and members of the audience. Today's format has been carefully designed to encourage a sharp, engaging, and respectful exchange of ideas. We will begin with our 6 speakers presenting their arguments in a head-to-head format from the podium on the stage. Each speaker will be allotted 8.5 minutes to present their case. During these speeches, points of information or POIs will be permitted. A POI is a brief interjection from the opposing side intended to question or challenge a point being made. Members may indicate a POI by raising their hand. However, it is entirely at the discretion of the speaker holding the floor to decide whether they want to accept it or not and when they want to accept it. We request that all POIs remain concise, relevant, and respectful. Following the individual speeches, we will move into a 20-minute panel discussion and question and answer session with the audience. This will include questions exchanged between the two sides and questions from all of you as well. At the conclusion of the debate, we will conduct a vote on the motion. Both a pre-debate and a post-debate ballot will be held, and the winning side will be determined by the greatest shift in opinion between the two sides. We will request all speakers to adhere strictly to their allotted time limits. Time signals will be provided and participants are expected to conclude promptly. Personal remarks and interruptions outside of POIs will not be permitted, and we aim to maintain a space for thoughtful, constructive, and respectful dialogue. The head-to-head matchups for this evening are as follows. Mr. Pradeep Bhandari versus Mrs. Dhawan, Mr. Ronak Khatri versus Mr. K.K. Gautam, and Ms. Anushka Ghosh versus Mr. Mitravinda Karanwal. Thank you.
Our first speaker, representing the proposition, is Anushka Ghosh, a student activist. She has emerged as one of the prominent faces of the recent student-led protests, advocating on issues concerning education, student rights, and youth participation in public discourse. Please welcome Ms. Anushka Ghosh.
So the motion today, to remind everyone, is the means of the protests were right and the demands should be met. I am for the motion. So there are 3 pillars of democracy: legislature, judiciary, and executive. The legislature is in the hands of the government in power. It's a simple majority. We don't have much say in it. Judiciary, the judiciary is calling us cockroaches and won't look at videos of police brutality. And the executive is beating children on the streets. So no arm of democracy is currently serving the people. The people do not feel safeguarded or supported by any of the arms of the democracy. We have nowhere to go. So we are exercising this constitutional right to voice this and ask for accountability to be taken. Democracy is not tested when everyone in an argument feels the same. The true test of democracy is allowing different voices to exist and for the right to disagree and dissent to exist. Since no other avenue was open to us, peaceful protest was demonstrated. So now, let me just walk you through how I'm going to do this. I'm going to define the means, define the demands, followed by a personal narration of my experience on the 20th as an on-ground testimony, following which we can have some discourse and hopefully reach a conclusion. So the sequence of events. 6th June, there was the first march with the All India Student Association and CJP. It was a one-day protest. It was carried out. Until 20th June, it was not acknowledged or answered by the government. On 20th June began an indefinite sit-in. Students also started their hunger strike, 3 students, alongside multiple other students who were present. This was carried out at the protest site of India at Jantar Mantar. Many people joined them over the days. As the lack of an answer, lack of accountability, lack of acknowledgement pursued, more and more people joined themselves to this movement. Then came 18th, where these student protesters who were on a hunger strike were being forcefully removed from the protest site. The means used then to protect them and keep them at the protest site was simply a human chain formed by students around them. Then let's come to 20th July. 20th July, finally, after a solid month of no accountability, no acknowledgement, the protest was organized. I will come back to 20th and describe that in detail. Let me finish the sequence of events first. 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, there is heavy police deployment. People are getting detained right, left, and center. So 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, there are a lot of jammers in place, barricades everywhere. The channel of communication is very blocked when you're there. So is the channel of physical movement. 25th, half an hour, I think not even half an hour, 5 minutes before the resignation was announced, there was still a lathi charge going on. So now let's come back to 20th. On 20th, the people who had stayed the night, who were on site at Jantar Mantar, around 5 a.m., 6 a.m., they had been barricaded in. So when people started arriving at 7 a.m., first, there are barricades everywhere. You are not able to enter the protest site with ease. The police officers who are at every barricade, this is a 5-kilometer radius around. So no matter which direction you're coming from, it's pretty difficult to get there. The police is basically sending us in round and round circles. So if you do finally make it to the protest site, which a lot of us did, we were peacefully standing behind the barricades. Now there are 4 directions. One is blocked by the police barricade, Sansad Ka Rasta basically. This side is the barricade and the protest site, Jantar Mantar. This side is all the tear gas cannons. So this is also blocked. So there's only one route. Over the 3 hours, after we got there, 3-4 hours, we peacefully stood there. They had blocked the path to Sansad March. We were fine with that. We all peacefully were standing there. There were several points where they wanted us to get off the road, get on the pavement. Everyone was doing their best to cooperate with the police. I did not see any form of disruption or violence by the protesters. Now, when more and more people gather in one place, you have to start moving out, right? Even when you're taking that one route out, there are barricades everywhere. So the autonomy or control you have over where you are going from there is pretty limited. There are jammers, you can't even use Google Maps, you can't reach out to anyone. The metro stations are closed. So we are moving, we are all there, we're moving around wherever the barricades are taking us. In the afternoon, after 5 hours of us peacefully standing there because the path is blocked, we have all by this point started to get divided into smaller groups behind different barricades. Whoever gets stuck wherever, they're standing there. The exact intersection I was at, we were 200 people maybe. There was a 100-meter space behind us, behind which there were barricades, holding maybe 1,000 people back. The police asked us to sit down. They said, "Aage nahi ja sakte." We sat down peacefully. Protesters themselves were aiding this protocol being followed. We were all seated on the floors. Slowly, they started pushing us back, which was a pattern that we had all recognized through the day. They started pushing us towards the barricade that was 100 meters behind us. After that, once we were crushed against a railing and a wall, I have to say this because there were 4 police officers standing there. And I'm not narrating this to appeal to your emotion at all. This is a factual testimony of the sequence of events on ground. I looked at a police officer while my ribs were getting crushed against this railing, and I have asked him, "Sir, please, can you open any one route of exit? Let the people who want to peacefully leave. Tell them to leave, let them leave. Koi bhi ek rasta khol do." There were some very young girls there. There was an elderly lady next to me. He said, "Ab to aap kahin nahi jaoge." To translate, there's no leaving now. No warning was given to us that leave, we are going to tear gas you, we are going to lathi charge you. This is immediately followed by 6 tear gas cannons thrown towards you, and by the time you can process it, they remove the barricade, so the 1,000 people are moving towards you. This is a manufactured stampede. Even if you stay calm in that moment and somehow collectively make a decision to not run and try to avoid the stampede, they are lathi charging you brutally before you can open your eyes. People are on the floor. There are women on the floor. People are walking over them. We are being hit while we are trying to help people pick them up. While you are running, there is a second run of lathi charges while you are running out as well. So obviously it was the level of brutality used in that lathi charge was very prevalent. There was a lot of profanity in language being used. Lathis were being hit above the waist. They were all male cops and male RAF members. So this is how the 20th went. After that as well, I must remind you that I did not see any retaliation from people where I was standing. We all were just trying to find a way out. Getting out of there takes an hour. They have barricades even when you're trying to get out. People are asking the police, "Ghar kaise jate hain, sir?" Is that time? Okay. Oh, shit. Okay. So basically, this was how 20th went. Now I understand. Section 144 was imposed. We weren't allowed to protest. But if permission is denied repeatedly, it's not like on the first day we went and we started marching to Parliament, right? It began on 6 June with a much smaller appeal. This movement grew so much because when a voice is not heard, it grows. If permission is denied repeatedly, what democratic remedy remains available to us as citizens? As mentioned, the 3 arms of the democratic government were not working for us. So if the argument is entirely that the government can simply invoke Section 144 whenever young people become inconvenient and thereby eliminate democratic dissent, Section 144 regulates protests. It does not abolish democracy. So to end my argument, someone I love deeply just said this to me. Because the 3 arms of democracy failed us, 1,000 legs march towards the hope of a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that rather emotional speech and that first-hand experience. Now I'm going to let someone who represents one of those arms of democracy at least to respond and give his POI. That's Mr. Pradeep Bhandari. Your POI was due.
My specific POI is that you in your speech said that between 6th and the 20th of June, you approached the government and nobody was listening to you. Did the CJP formally approach through a letter, or there was any formal channel of communication that you established with the government? Because the matter of fact suggests that the day you formally reached the government is when the government met you twice. So just a matter of fact, just trying to understand it. Thank you.
So to begin with, I think this movement has become much larger than CJP. It has very much become a people's movement. So CJP sending the formal letter was, yes, sir.
I respect the movement, I respect everything. My specific POI is, you in your speech said, and I quote and unquote, that between the 6th and the 20th of June, we had nowhere to go. We had no other option but to protest. You began your protest as 6th, which was your constitutional right. But between the 6th and the 20th of June, did you formally, like you had approached the government, did you start a channel of communication, informal channel of communication through with the government, is my specific POI.
Sir, the government was requested to have a conversation with the All India Student Association several times through those days.
Can you tell me the date when the CJP between 6th and the 20th of June approached the government or started a channel of communication between the government and the government refused?
Mr. Bhandari, I must remind you that she's not representing the
Okay,
CJP,
fine.
she's just a protester.
Okay, thank you.
I am the youth of India.
I'm also the youth of India. No, not about that.
Part of the movement.
Both of us are youth of India. I'm not a boomer. That's what you call it in Gen Z language.
Okay, now I'm going to request Sanjam to let Mr. Bhandari probably give his formal speech here.
Thank you very much, Anushka. Representing the opposition, our next speaker is Pradeep Bhandari. He is the national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, a journalist, a political commentator, and the founder of the Jan Ki Baat. Known for his election analysis and prominent presence in televised political debates, please welcome Pradeep Bhandari.
The topic and the motion of the debate is whether the means and the ends of the protest justified and met. Let us go to the core of the debate. Core of the debate क्या है? जो protest हुए, the primary objective of the protest, या जो सबसे बड़ा नारा protest का था, it was that the education minister had to resign. But the core of it, if you speak and take a summary of every student who had gone there, was two things. A, accountability. B, education reform. मैं आप सबसे ये पूछना चाहता हूँ, you check every reel out there, check the official statement of every representative at the stage. Have you heard a single suggestion? क्या आप सभी युवाओं ने अब रेजिग्नेशन हो चुका है, क्या एक सजेशन जंतर मंतर से किसी के भी द्वारा देखा कि इस तरीके से ये एजुकेशन सिस्टम को ठीक किया जा सकता है? One single suggestion. Let's flip it further, because the end goal was A, accountability, B, education reforms for the youth of India, because 1 crore youth graduate in this country, 20 crore people study in this, as students in this country, which is 4 times that of China, 8 times that of United States of America. So the answer is a big no. The primary demand was of accountability, and accountability for a paper leak. Let's take that argument forward. Now, if the primary demand was of accountability and was of paper leak, the education minister resigned. The education minister ने resignation दिया, accountability after the student protest establish करी. पर क्या accountability selective हो सकती है? Can the accountability of student issues be very selective? Because when the entire protest was going on, जब protest चल रहा था, मैं whataboutery की बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं protest जब चल रहा था तब की बात कर रहा हूं. During the time the protest was going on, there was a paper leak in Punjab and students were lathi charged in Punjab. There was a paper leak where a bribe of 80 lakh was charged in Karnataka and the examination was cancelled in Karnataka. And in the last 1 year in this country, because education is a concurrent subject, various state governments across political ideologies, there was a paper leak. Did you see any member from the protest site at least acknowledge the fact, or at least say and be cognizant of the fact, be empathetic to the concerns of the student and the youth when there was a paper leak during the time of the protest in Punjab, Karnataka or some other geography? Or were the youth demands selective, or was the end goal of the protest merely selective accountability because of political leanings, or whether the end goal was complete accountability for the youth of India? If the end goal was complete accountability for the youth of India, Because it cannot be that the youth of Himachal, youth of Uttarakhand, youth of any state, and I take the Bharatiya Janata Party state also, you cannot do a pick and choose in this, because youth is the present and the future of the country. I did not find a single statement. Now I ask you, if the accountability, end goal of the accountability was complete, the accountability has not been met, because even after the end goal of resignation was achieved, let's take the argument forward. The end goal of resignation was achieved because the government after some time was responsive to the concerns and the aspirations of the youth. I take that argument forward, but let's take it forward. If the accountability and if the end goal was genuine, did Mr. Saurav Das or any of the CJP spokesperson who called the entire media Godi and went into the lap of the Godi media to give every second interview because they wanted to be on TV in the lap of the same Godi media which they were criticizing for so long, did one of them, even after achieving their short-term goal or jeet, did they at least acknowledge the fact that Punjab mein bhi wo leak hua hai? Did they even acknowledge when the anchor asked them the question? Big answer is no. So my question to you as youth of India is, what have you achieved? You have achieved responsiveness, but please look at what did the Anna Hazare Andolan achieve. It created Arvind Kejriwal, who promised that he will fight corruption, but went to jail in corruption. It created an Ashutosh who went to Aam Aadmi Party and became a political analyst. What did it do for the cause of corruption? Did the harbingers of corruption who took the Anna Andolan forward, bearing apart Anna Hazare, actually took that fight? The big answer is no. And they completely sold the principles.
I have a POI.
I will ask. I'll take it at the end of the speech. So that is my point number one. So A, if the end goal is accountability, selective accountability has been achieved. What was the means? Peaceful protest. Means the peaceful protest. Now the lady out here, who I respect for a very good speech, said that हमने peacefully protest किया. Please look at the video, because what I say and what the lady say does not matter. What visual evidences say matter. This is a man out here whose name is ACP Bhagat. He is also a father of a Gen Z and a youth. He was beaten, thrashed, bruised. 2 youth in the protest protected him, and I have huge respect for him. I have huge respect for the 2 youth out there. But where was the acknowledgement from the part here that the entire protest was not peaceful? It was partly hijacked by anti-social elements, because this is what the visual evidence points. If the entire protest was purely for democracy, there is the 4th pillar of democracy which we call the media. Unfortunately, those who earlier were Godi today call those the others as Godi. There is a fight between who the Godi is. But let me tell you, across spectrum, everybody condemned the attack on journalists. Look at this very, very carefully. Today this is one journalist, tomorrow it might be one of you. She was pulled from her neck, she was taken, she was thrashed, and there was another journalist whose clothes were torn. Please tell me that if the means were entirely peaceful, where was the acknowledgement from the people who claimed to have a peaceful protest that this is something which was wrong? So there has to be an admission of fact, which happened at least a week later, that there were certain anti-social elements which tried to enter the protest. I am not saying that the entire protesters out there were anti-social elements. Absolutely not. They were the youth of the country. I'm not saying that those peaceful protesters who were beaten by sticks, it was correct, it was absolutely wrong. This is why the government said it will take back the cases. But please note, we are not talking about this issue from a point of view of a political lens, because we as political parties might look at political advantage or political disadvantage. I as BJP will definitely look at what is my political cause. The Congress will also look at it. The Aam Aadmi Party will also do it. But I ask you as the youth of the country who's making a 30-second Gen Z reel, to the extent of even personally abusing the Prime Minister and still saying that the government is fascist, because you had every second, third reel of individuals in order to gauge in engagement aura farming or engagement farming, as they use in the Gen Z term. I'm not telling you've done it, but the Gen Z term. There were personal abuse to the Prime Minister, and you've not seen this government go and put cases like you've seen in the past, because this government respects certain sentiments. People might have gone towards एक तरफ चले गए होंगे जहां नहीं जाना चाहिए था, पर हमें ये सोचना है कि एक तरफ आप फासिस्ट कह रहे हो और दूसरी तरफ excessive form of criticism, not political criticism, personal abusive criticism to the Prime Minister, which no democracy, mind you, tolerates. बिकॉज सबको लगा था ये रील वायरल हो रही है, मैं भी कर दूंगा, 10 मिलियन व्यूज आ जाएंगे, मैं उसमें कई लोग करें, तो फिर हम फासिस्ट कैसे हो गए? 30 plus days the protesters were sitting. Mr. Sonam Wangchuk began his fast on the 20th, on the 28th if I'm not wrong, and he continued for 20 days on hunger strike. I salute that man. 26, thank you for correcting me. When others were eating burgers. So when he continued for 26 days, how was the government fascist when the peaceful protesters were protesting? But please tell me that when anti-social elements try to throw the stone at the policeman, who's also a father of a son, who's also a father of a Gen Z or youth, what should he do? आओ मुझे पत्थर मारो, मैं मरने के लिए तैयार हूं, मर जाऊंगा. Is this what we are suggesting? Yes, in a situation, there will be mistakes which are made. I am not denying that at all. I am not justifying there are certain allegations of pellet guns. I am not justifying, it's a matter of investigation. But what I am saying is the truth has to be said naked. When we are not politicians, when we are students. I am a politician, so I will use it from the color of grey. But when I speak as the youth of India, I have to say the truth. That the outcome, end goal of accountability was selective. It was colored with political bias. This is why not a single paper leak, whether it was the Naib Tehsildar recruitment, 12th board examination, Group B examination, agriculture development examination, pharmacy officer examination, none of it was even acknowledged. I'm not blaming the youth of India. They were there for responsiveness, which is their right. But I am questioning those who attempted to be the poster boys of this. And this is where I say the end goal is not met. Because none of you can tell me one suggestion that the protesters, not the students out there, those who claim to lead the protest has given to the government till now, that how will they fix this education system. Because I'll tell you, sir, that these seats and needs have increased from 51,000 to 1.5 lakhs. I'll tell you that the number of ITs and IIMs have doubled. I'll tell you that the QS ranking of the country has reached to top 5. I'll tell you that the per person education cost in this country has come down. These are data and facts. We can disagree to it, but these are facts. I am asking you, why did you not ask complete accountability? Because the youth was looking to you to completely change the education system, but your political selective biases prevented you from asking questions in Punjab and Karnataka. This is why you are colored today. And lastly, sir, the means, if they were completely peaceful, you need to acknowledge the fact that your intent was peaceful protest, but anti-social elements hijacked it, abused journalists, thrashed journalists, beaten up police officials, and those had to be acknowledged by you, saying that this is wrong. A youth cannot be colored when they lead a protest for a youth cause. If it was a political cause, अगर आपको भी एक पार्टी बनानी है जैसे केजरीवाल जी ने बनाइए, ये आपका लोकतांत्रिक अधिकार है. पर अगर आप ये कह रहे हैं कि युवाओं के रिफॉर्म की आपने बात करी, तो युवाओं के रिफॉर्म का सजेशन कहां है आज रेजिग्नेशन के बाद में? दिया मिस्टर दीपके ने, दिया मिस्टर सौरभ दास ने, कहां है सजेशन? आपसे पूछना चाहता हूं. कोई सजेशन नहीं है. पर हां, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीनेस की बात की गई थी, अकाउंटेबिलिटी, मॉरल हाई ग्राउंड द मिनिस्टर ने लिया है, जो सही है, और मैं इस देश के युवा को सलाम करता हूं. आई सैल्यूट द यूथ ऑफ इंडिया, बट प्लीज रिमेंबर आई विल एंड इन 10 seconds. You can cut the marks for extending the time because I'm not here for winning it. I'm just here to make my last point in 10 seconds.
This paper can't be leaked.
Sorry?
This paper can't be leaked.
Okay, no problem. This will not be leaked, no problem. Till the time you are the invigilator, it will not be leaked. I at least trust your conscience. 10 seconds. There is a man who was, and I'll end it with this. There is a 29-year-old youth of the country who, despite polio, won bronze in Commonwealth Games. He was a shop seller. He was a shop seller in Bihar. Jhandu Kumar, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. He made this country proud because he believed in, yes, he can. Do not believe that the system is always against you. The system is with you. There are problems, but we have to fix it together, and we have to fix it together because the relationship that we have with our country is not companionship, it's not situationship, it is a relationship.
Sir, 3 things.
Yes.
First of all, you prosecute criminals individually. You do not criminalize dissent collectively.
How have we criminalized dissent?
All of us are of the opinion that if you have any evidence of unprovoked violence being caused by any protester, please personally prosecute that person, but do us the same honor, pay us the same courtesy of doing the same with the police officers doing that. Second, even My second point is, even as an Instagram generation, we wouldn't show you 2 videos and
Madam,
show
you
that
have a
as
point.
proof.
Sorry to say, the point of intervention is not a comment; it's a question. So, what's the question in the two? Please ask me a specific question.
So why did
Question
you
number
say?
one.
Why did you say? Question number 1. Why did you say that no suggestions or no demands for reform has come in from inside the protest? Where at the heart of the protest, the All India Student Association was seated, and ISA has made
ISA was not the representative of it. The CJP was representative of it. Now you're talking political. ISA is not ISA is a political front of the communists. It's not a representative of the youth. It's like ABVP bringing a representative of the BJP. Please ask me a specific question. Where were the demands which were there? Please give me the demands which you have.
May I please?
Where the reform demands?
I'll send you a link after this.
No,
You
no
give me a
link. You
number.
should show me the reform demand. There were no reform demands.
Just okay.
Excuse
One
me.
second.
Sorry.
Let's go point by point. What she's saying is
Yes.
that the CJP was not representing the people's movement. ISA made demands as well. Why weren't those demands met, Mr. Bhandari? The ISA is ISA is also at the
Let's do
movement.
a poll out here. I ask you, who was at the heart of the movement, whether it was CJP or ISA? Please raise.
But
CJP, who says raise hand, please?
Who thinks it's
CJP. No, youth of, don't say that ISA is the representative of youth of India. Communists get 0 vote when they politically fight, please.
Sir, but you are making the assumption
no,
that...
she's saying ISA. How is ISA the representative?
Okay.
Okay, was Mr. Saurav Das from ISA? Please answer.
May I interject?
Okay, yes, please go ahead.
I'm a media volunteer with the CJP, and
Who
I
was
can
representing it?
attest to it that the movement belonged to the youth. The CJP brought it to the forefront. This is something that CJP leaders also admit to. There are 5 demands that the CJP made. There's a 5-demand manifesto that is right here. I can show it to you, which says that 10,000 paper leak hardship compensation. If an exam paper is cancelled, leak or delayed at the last minute, the government must automatically pay 10,000 rupees to each citizen. There was a demand made for 1 crore rupees compensation for all of the families of the students which committed suicides. There was a demand for a backup day re-exam within 72 hours. There was a demand made for changing the system of paper checking from the online system to manual teacher checking, the traditional hand paper checking system. Sorry, sir. And automatic age limit extensions for delayed exam. In case a paper has been leaked and an exam has been delayed, the age limit should be increased for it and a student should be allowed to sit for the exam later. Despite all of these, I would also say that ISA, along with SFI and all of the student movements who were there, they have given policy suggestions which have been very concrete to the government. The government has not opened a Center for Dialogue. The request that
Your
was
question is entertained. What is the, now you're giving a comment.
no,
So you're saying you'd meet the demands, right?
No, sir. I'm just saying that all of us, ISA, CJP, all of these people, they're being forefronters to open dialogues with the state. That does not essentially mean that they're representatives of all of the agitation that the youth is going through. The distress that the youth is going through is deeply personal.
Ma'am, you are now, I've got your question. Now this is the,
Thank you.
a day back, this is what they read, and I quote, all demands have been accepted by the government. This demand compensation for the family. Demand FIR removed. Demand that there should be no case on peaceful protesters. I am asking about, have you heard a single proposal from them for reforming the education system? The big answer is no. And if you do a poll in this country in the youth, they will tell you that the CJP was a representative, not the ISA. They were there present for their political leanings like Mr. Kejriwal and Ashutosh was. But like Mr. Anna Hazare was the representative of that movement, the CJP, quote unquote, and most importantly, Mr. Sonam Wangchuk was the representative of the movement. That is the reality, at least that is my interpretation. And please Google if ISA is a neutral political organization or is it the front of the Communist Party of India. That is the reality. And there is no accountability asked for Punjab, where paper leak has happened. There is no accountability asked for Karnataka, where paper leak has happened. Youth also belongs to that part of the country. Please do not forget. Do not be selective. You are youth. They are politicians. Thank you.
Right, after that very, very heated exchange, we will be calming things down a bit. We will now have a guest speech made for 5 minutes by Dr. Satyapal Singh. For those who don't know him, he's a distinguished former IPS officer, an ex-Mumbai police commissioner, and senior public leader known for his integrity and administrative excellence. He has served as a member of parliament from Baghpat and as union minister of state, contributing to education, water resources, and public policy for this country as a whole. He's a scholar with multiple advanced degrees and a PhD. Dr. Singh is also an author whose work bridges governance, science, and social development. Today he'll be sharing his views on education in youth and how it is evolving in India.
सभी को नमस्ते. My friend Parveen Gandhi ji here, Mr. Pankaj Pachauri, all the panelists, ladies and gentlemen, all the youth. I am not here neither for the motion nor against it. But I have my views on education, on youth. In fact, I was lucky to work in the Ministry of Education. And I had given my draft what kind of the education policy this country must have. It means when the new education policy came into being, it means the government of India admitted that there must be reform in the education system. How many reforms have been carried out? How much time it will take? That is a matter of time. But what is happening in today's world, not only in India, unfortunately, that we are not different as far as education system is in the world. India is also following almost the same kind of the global system. In one of my program about 2 months back, I was expressing my views. There was a seminar on suicides. And you will be so shocked to know that even in the primary classes, or up to 8th class, 14.5% of the suicides students are committing. Why it is happening? Why every third person is either under tension or the depression? Why so much crime is taking place in the society? Why we are not able to create the man of character, man of honesty? Something is wrong in the system. In our ancient India, when India was the Vishwaguru, and it is a fact, whether the modern historians they agree to it or not, but for thousands of years, India was Vishwaguru, and it was because of its education. We were leading in science and technology, in all kinds of the fields until 70, if you read history, economic history of this country, by 1700, if you read, in 1700, 26% of the world production was done only in India. And 24.6% of the world trade was controlled by India. By 1800, it came down to around 16%. By 1900, it came to around 12%, and now we are even less than 2%. In the field of education, in the field of the trade, in the field of the manufacturing, everywhere we were leading the world. Now situation has reversed. And that is why our ancient, I should not say they were the leaders, our rishis, they gave so much of importance on education, and what kind of education should be. Our youth, they must be men of character, they must be learned, they must be resolute, they must be morally and physically strong. Our education system, unfortunately, has not been successful in that respect. And that is why Mahatma Gandhi used to say that our education system must cater to the requirements of hands, heart, and the head. It's not doing that. I have not come prepared to speak because I had come to this spa and my grandson, Aryaman is here, he just called me. I can speak on education and youth, use the most important as far as whether our country is concerned, the world is concerned. That is, I don't know how many of you really know, when the first generation came on earth, first generation, when the first generation came on earth, it was the generation of youth. There were no babies. Had there been babies, who would have taken care of them? They were not aged, they were no old persons. There would not have been next generations. They were all youth. Even God has realized the importance and significance of the youth. Our country having 65% of the youth population, we have to listen to our youth and we have to take care of the youth. What kind of education can make them a holistic kind of the education we have to provide to our youth, so that they again lead this world. Thank you very much. All the best to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh. I now call upon Anat to continue our debate forward.
All right. So, if I may I please call upon Ms. Dhawan, who was a media volunteer for the CJP. She was part of the protest, and a student leader. And can we please give a round of applause for her?
Hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I just wanted to thank Shivom and the team for Delhi Union for organizing this debate. It's very important that the youth has forums for discourse, and I'm glad we're doing this. Thank you so much. I would like to start by quoting something. कौन आज़ाद हुआ किसके माथे से गुलामी की सियाही छूटी, which essentially translates into who was liberated from whose brow was the ink of slavery wiped away. This is a quote by Ali Sardar Jafri. He was a poet, and this is something that comes to my mind again and again when I think about the protest. So the question that we're dealing with today is if this generation, which was promised an education by the Republic, has failed to gain it. That's the reason that the protest happened, and the youth presented their truth and their dissent. And I'm glad that we received the resignation of the education minister. I would like to start to talk about the means. The first truth was that this movement was born from an insult, and it answered the insult with a joke. When the CGI talked about how the unemployed young of the country, cockroaches and parasites of society, consider what happened next. Lakhs of young Indians carrying a private depressive agony that no institution had ever bothered to name did not burn a bus or cast a stone. They took the slur and they stitched it into a banner. If the system insisted on seeing them as a vermin, they would rather organize themselves as vermin than disappear into statistics. In a taunt, they found the fraternity for collective disappointment and the expression of that collective disappointment. And throughout the step of the protest, if you think about it, it walked within Article 19.1a and Article 19.1b, expression and assembly, peaceful and without arms. What did it do? It used satire. It used satire, honorable members, which has never blinded anyone. Secondly, there are so many precedents that prove that hunger strikes is the last democratic institution which is left standing. It's the last thing that it's the last thing a citizen ever confines to and thinks about when they are not being heard. Let's ask a fundamental question. Why does a citizen protest? Because protest is never the first language of democracy. It is the language citizens adopt when there is a closing up of institutional orders. Now, look at the state that we have built. It is increasingly imagining itself as a parent. It tells citizens what to eat, how to speak, what are the lines between patriotism and dissent. There are binaries that we are drawing. Theorists call this paternalism, authority claimed on the promises of knowing what is best for us. But paternal authority carries a very indispensable obligation that we should all remember. A parent must care. A state must care. A parent must recognize the suffering. The tragedy before this house is a state that has retained the authority of a parent while abandoning the responsibility of one. Think of how grief works in our homes. When a family loses someone, Neighbors do not carry with speeches. They do not arrive with speeches. They arrive carrying food. Because feeding one person is the recognition of care. It is society saying, I see your pain. This is what philosophers from Hegel to Tilly and Taylor, all of them tell us. The self is constituted by being seen. And misrecognition is itself a form of injury. Now, invert this image when the very institution meant to care refuses to acknowledge the grief and despair of the young of the country. When despair is not met with accountability but with silence, that is when recognition is required. And this is why the fast that happened at Jantar Mantar is neither extremism or emotional blackmail. A hunger strike is not violence inflicted upon another. It's the suffering inflicted upon oneself to make invisible suffering impossible to ignore. The modern state, Foucault reminded us, governs by managing the lives and bodies of its population. Sonam Wangchuk has seized the one institution of the state that the state cannot confiscate. He did not coerce the government. He literally asked a devastatingly simple question. Can you look away while one of your own citizens slowly disappears? The more than 20 people who joined the hunger strike were all longing to be recognized, to be cared for. And I think that's at the very fundamental core of democracy, and I'm glad that our democracy succeeded that day. Thank you. The third thing that I would like to talk about is that every act of violence in this story belonged to the state. I'm not making this as a blanket statement. I'm making this with the cognizance that the protesters were children. They were minors. If you see the range of the people who came to the protest, it varied from students who were 13 to people who were 32 years old. That's a huge margin. If the state inflicts violence on kids within 2 to 3 kilometers of the radius of the main protest site, that is extraterrestrial usage of power. And it's, sorry. And the injury here itself is very evident. And every act of violence in the story has been done by the state. The record is not rhetorical, it's medical. The government switched off Wi-Fi services. It deployed extrajudicial force against teenagers. I would like to mention Sahib Blokab, a student of the Delhi University, got injured by pellet guns, which a fact that the government has hidden away, not accepted and arrogantly denied. When one side brings hunger, humor, and the constitution to a protest, and their other side brings bellets, blackouts, and denial, the question of means does answer itself. I would also like to talk about the fact that the grievance here is structural, and it's the ledger which is written in funerals. The framers promised vertical alleviation. The Constituent Assembly, which formed the Constitution of India, had provisions within it which talked about vertical alleviation. Education was promised to us as something that will bring us a secure future, a successful life, and it is the only means. Meritocracy was made to be the only means that brings us a life. So the ladder itself was collapsed, which we were all trying to find. More than 90 paper leaks have happened in a decade. Repeated lapses have happened by the NTA and the SEC. An unaccountable hierarchy punishes preparation and rewards corruption. And 20 students who dutifully believed in the lie of alleviation within a rigged system could no longer see a way forward and took their own lives. 20 families received a body where they had been promised a future. How much time do I have? 1 minute. Okay, yeah. So I would just like to close. I would like to mention that there are historical precedences. Can I take that in the end? I'm just finishing up. Thank you. In 1974, students in Bihar and Gujarat led the movement that ended the emergency and returned this republic to itself. Whenever the state has turned aggressive, prescriptive, and oppressive, its student politics and the youth of this country have mobilized and agitated against it, and that has restored the balance of power. These young people are not a threat to the constitutional order, they are its conscience, and they're arriving on foot. Thank you so much.
Right, I'll ask you a POI first, that's okay? So in your speech you said grievance is structural.
Yeah.
Right, and the main grievance here was the paper leak and the harm caused by it. You also said 90 paper leaks have happened in India in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Since NEET, more paper leaks have happened, including the ones in Punjab, Karnataka. Do you think those ministers should also resign, yes or no?
Definitely.
Definitely. So the CJP, the youth protest, as you called it, has no party alliances. Every minister, education minister, when there's a paper leak, they should resign. By that logic, I also want you to know, where is that level of accountability? A police officer, if there's police brutality, should the home minister resign as well? Where is the line for democratic accountability in your protest?
Sure, of course. I agree with you. I actually do think the Home Minister should resign. With the amount of police brutality that has taken place,
So should our country not have a cabinet?
No, I think that the cabinet should hold a press conference sometimes, perhaps. I think I think there is a severe need of moving the youth towards mediation. I think there's a severe need for us to understand that gerontological hierarchies that we have created a massive gap, intergenerational gap, where we don't understand each other's problems. I don't think my parents understand the academic distress of giving an entrance exam. And because the population dynamics, the demographics of the country have changed, and accountability starts by creating a communication forum, which the government has failed to do time and time again. And I do think that's a step forward, and that leads to accountability. And the ministers would not have to resign if they would open mediation forums.
So the Aam Aadmi Party who came to visit the protest was in power in Punjab. The Congress who came to visit the protest was in power in Karnataka. Will you protest against them as well now that there have been paper leaks? Because you said they should resign. So will the protest continue, or will the protest stop now that Dharmendra Pradhan has resigned?
No, I think that the education minister of the country was dealing with the NTA issue. These are state exams which I also
so
think
state issues
that
are not that.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I think you need to listen to me for a second. What I'm trying to say is that accountability requires mediation. These people, the other states that have also been there, they've been at the protest, they have recognized the problem of the youth, and I hope that their youth communions and their forums that they have at state levels will also work towards gaining accountability from these specific people.
And would you be willing to be a part of those?
Of course.
All right then, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
A very good evening to one and all. And as ma'am was mentioning about the constitution, and I'm a freshly enrolled advocate myself, so ma'am, I have a question for you. And I would like, luminaries like you to understand what I mean to say. Whenever an offense is committed, for example, a murder or a rape, we have legally established procedures to address that. And it is very seldom that we see people seeking the resignation of the law minister or home minister and all wait for the legal verdict, because we have the courts for that. Similarly, the Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Act 2024 and other legal provisions are being used to prosecute the offender and whosoever was involved in the NEET scandal. So why are we not complying with the mandate of law? And is it not like, whenever a rape happens in the country, so people start saying ki instant justice chahiye, hame isko phansi pe tang do, but we do have courts for that purpose, na? And the same is like happening here also. So ma'am, how could you answer, why we are being, so obsessed with resignation only?
Okay, I would like to start by mentioning that the whole point here is that the issue is not that there was a perpetrator here. The issue is a system which is allowing perpetrators and bureaucrats to create a system where they can get incentives. If leaking a paper is rewarded and let go because of no executive understanding and accountability at its level, fast-track courts have been formed for 20 other things in this, and they are mostly derailed into the existing courts that have existed. You please give me stats where fast-track courts have actually brought justice. That being an immediate issue, the other structural point here is that it is the permission of allowing these people, allowing a system to exist where there are so many leakages. Do you realize corruption leakages and incentive leakages? Creating an executive system where it's allowed, that needs to be fixed at the forefront. It's not a justice problem.
Ma'am, let me put one more argument,
Yeah.
if to make myself more clear. Ma'am, if the Constitution of India under Article 19, it gives me the prerogative to protest, to register my dissent to the government, to the dispensation. At the same time, there is nowhere mentioning in the Constitution that the government official has to resign. Only he resigns due to his moral consideration for the upcoming election which he will be facing. That's the only reason. Na? And if you are talking about establishing and backing the institutions of democracy, so don't you think that in some way we are, undermining that only?
Do you not realize that the institution of democracy, the judiciary, and a comment, and a very insensitive comment made by one of the highest people there, has led to this resemblance that the youth has found in its voice, and it has felt subjected to vermin behavior and treatment, and that is at the forefront of all of this problem, because there's such a huge disconnection between our institutions in themselves and how they treat the youth and what they think about it. It's a social perception thing. It's a justice perception thing.
That is your interpretation. Otherwise, I am not in agreement that I should topple the government only. I should.
No one is toppling the government. This is.
Because he is politically, he got the political mandate. All that, no. After that, he got appointed, and I just start marching towards the parliament, and I will create a ruckus, and thereafter, ma'am, that's not how procedures work, na. महात्मा गांधी क्यों करते थे प्रोटेस्ट? क्योंकि उस टाइम हमारे पास लीगल प्रोसीजर्स नहीं था, एस्टैब्लिशमेंट्स नहीं थे।
अब मुझे बताइए 100 लोगों को डिटेन करना बिना किसी वारंट के और बच्चों को, दैट इज लीगली साउंड, इट्स जस्टिफिएबल, इट्स डेमोक्रेटिक, इट बिलोंग्स टू गुड इंस्टीट्यूशंस व्हिच बिलीव इन अ डेमोक्रेसी।
मैं बोलता हूं मैम, कभी भी प्रोटेस्ट होता है उसकी परमिशन ली जाती है, उसके कुछ रिक्वायरमेंट्स होती हैं।
आप मेरी बात समझिए, व्हाट इज द पॉइंट ऑफ अ प्रोटेस्ट?
इंपोज था वहां पर।
I don't think this is.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Ms. Zavan for her speech, as well as taking on questions in such a sporting manner and quite incisive, like the nature of the questions which have been. I'd now like to request a very special guest to come on stage. Mr. Pradeep Gandhi has been a former MP from the Bharatiya Janata Party, and as I told you before, has been working tirelessly in social service and other causes for decades. And he's also a very prominent member of the MPs circles. He's the president of the ex-MPs Association, and he's been sitting very patiently in the audience till now, giving Mr. Satyapal Singh ji, Dr. Satyapal Singh ji, our chief guest, some company. But now I'll request him to come up on stage and enlighten us with his views. Thank you.
देखिए, इसमें बहुत सुंदर तरीके से वैचारिक मंथन के लिए हम लोग यहाँ पर एकत्रित हुए हैं। अलग अलग विचारधाराएं हो सकती हैं, लेकिन अल्टीमेटली गोल तो यही है कि हमको भारत को विश्व गुरु बनाना है। अभी डॉक्टर सत्यपाल जी ने अतीत की स्मृतियों की ओर आपको ले गए कि अतीत में भारत क्या था, और जो अभी ऊर्जा उत्पन्न हुई है, ये जो युवाओं की ऊर्जा उत्पन्न हुई, और इस ऊर्जा को एक सकारात्मक परिणाम तक आपने पहुंचा दिया। मान लो अगर हमने ये आंदोलन किया, इस आंदोलन में पूरे देश को एक प्रकार से जागृति पैदा कर दी, और यूथ सड़कों पर निकल आए, और सरकार ने भी गंभीरतापूर्वक विचार किया, और विचार करने के उपरांत जो जो मांग थी वो पूरी हो गई, मान लीजिए। लेकिन अब आगे की यात्रा क्या होगी? अगर हम इस संगठन के माध्यम से यदि हम भारत में कुछ नया करना चाहते हैं, तो हमको सुझाव देना पड़ेगा। इसके पहले भी भारत के अंदर अनेक रेल दुर्घटनाएं हुई। लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जी ने तो नैतिकता के आधार पर इस्तीफा दिया, क्या उसके बाद दुर्घटनाएं होना बंद हुई? क्या वो तो आज भी हो रही है। निर्भया कांड के बाद क्या इस देश के अंदर नारी शक्ति के साथ अपमानजनक व्यवहार होना रुका? क्या नकल में भी इस तरह की परिस्थितियों का निर्माण होगा? हमको समाज को जोड़ करके कैसे कार्य करना, यानी अब आने वाले समय में चाहे कोई भी राजनीतिक युवा शक्ति उत्पन्न हुई हो, चाहे आप उसको कॉकरोच पार्टी बोल लो, कोई बात नहीं, लेकिन ये जो ऊर्जा है, ये ऊर्जा सकारात्मक दिशा में कैसे चले? एक है कि कुछ एलिमेंट्स आ सकते हैं जो आपको नकारात्मक दिशा में ले जाने का प्रयत्न कर सकते हैं, और उससे आपका आंदोलन बदनाम होगा। और आंदोलन बदनाम होगा। यूथ शक्ति की नकारात्मक ऊर्जा को दिशा देने के लिए इंटरनेशनल साजिशें भी चलती रहती हैं। कभी कभी हम उसके पार्ट बन सकते हैं, जाने अनजाने। हमको इस पे सतर्कतापूर्वक विचार करना होगा और विचार करके हमको इस लाइन ऑफ एक्शन को बनाना होगा कि अगर विकसित भारत का निर्माण करना है तो मेरी भूमिका क्या होगी, मैं क्या कर सकता हूं, क्या लाइन ऑफ एक्शन होगा। अगर आपने मांगे मनवा ली, अब मांग के बाद आप एक रोड मैप बना करके दीजिए कि शिक्षा नीति में यह परिवर्तन होने से यह रिजल्ट आएगा और उसमें हमारी क्या भूमिका होगी, क्योंकि आने वाले समय में विकसित भारत के निर्माण में आपकी बड़ी भूमिका होगी। हमारे जैसे या डॉक्टर साहब के जैसे हम जामवंत की भूमिका में आ गए हैं। हम हनुमानों को जगा करके उनको एक नई ताकत और एक नई दिशा दे सकते हैं। उस कार्य को करने के लिए ये वैचारिक मंथन बहुत अच्छा है। मैं दिल्ली डायलॉग के माध्यम से जो युवा लोग विगत 4-6 डायलॉग यहाँ कराएं, जब भी मैं रहता हूँ वो मुझे आमंत्रित करते हैं। मुझे अच्छा लगता है कि अलग अलग विचार के लोग, इससे जो नवनीत निकलेगा, मक्खन, उसी को लेकर के हमको आगे बढ़ना है। और देखिए, युवा है, युवा के अंदर जोश है, शक्ति है, उसके अंदर एक ऊर्जा है और अगर उसकी ऊर्जा को हम रचनात्मक दिशा देंगे तो हम विश्व गुरु बन सकते हैं। और यदि हम उसको नकारात्मक दिशा दे दिए, अगर हमने उसको ऐसी दिशा दे दी कि जो बगल में बांग्लादेश में हुआ, बगल में और कुछ क्रांति हुई, अगर आप उस पर्सपेक्टिव में ले जाएंगे तो इसके नकारात्मक असर पड़ेंगे। ये लोकतंत्र की बुनियाद को कमजोर करेगा और आपकी दिशा को भी एक नया डायरेक्शन दे देगा। हमें ये प्रयत्न करना चाहिए कि हमारी ऊर्जा रचनात्मक दिशा में लगे और एक रोडमैप बना करके हम प्रस्तुत करें कि आने वाले समय में क्या शिक्षा नीति में बदलाव होना चाहिए। उस बदलाव के लिए मंथन करें और आगे बढ़ करके इस बीड़ा को उठाएं, क्योंकि यह सामाजिक चेतना से, इस तरह के कार्य समाज के सहयोग से, इसको मैं एक शब्द में बोल के कहता हूं कि विसर्जन से सृजन की ओर चले। हम सब अपने ज्ञान, प्रभाव, पुरुषार्थ, इसका विसर्जन करेंगे, एक नई चीज का सृजन होगा, वो विकसित भारत का निर्माण होगा। आदरणीय विनोबा भावे जी ने जब पैदल यात्रा करके नेहरू जी से चर्चा करने के लिए आए थे, तब उन्होंने एक ही बात कहा था, सरकारों से परिवर्तन नहीं होगा, असरकारी व्यवस्था बनानी पड़ेगी। यानी असरकारी भी होगा और असर भी करे, ऐसी व्यवस्था का निर्माण करने के लिए हम इस यूथ फोर्स को एक नई डायमेंशन में ले जाने के लिए आप लोग विचार करेंगे। इस भाव के साथ मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम प्रदान करता हूं। धन्यवाद।
So our next speaker is Mr. Ronak Khatri, who is the former president of the Delhi University Students' Union. He's known for his work and bold steps on student welfare, campus issues, and youth representation. He has been active in student politics and in the current protests, and has brought valuable grassroots experience to today's discussion. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ronak Khatri.
Hello everyone, myself Ronak Khatri. So the motion of this house and the topic which we are already sitting here, कि जो स्टूडेंट प्रोटेस्ट ऑर्गेनाइज हो रही हैं देश के अंदर और डिमांड मेट हुई हैं, जो डिमांड सरकार ने मानी है, उस पर मैं अपने विचार आप सभी के बीच रखना चाहूँगा। द पॉइंट इज़ वेरी सिंपल। जब जब आप सड़कों पर यूथ को देखोगे ऑन अ इशू, तो वो सबसे पहली बात नॉन पॉलिटिकल इशू बन जाता है। फॉर एन एग्ज़ाम्पल, जब मैं दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी का प्रेसिडेंट था, बीइंग द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी, उससे पहले की जर्नी मैं अपनी बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग समझता हूँ रादर देन बनने के बाद की, क्योंकि बनने के बाद आई गॉट एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू प्रेजेंट माई सेल्फ एज द प्रेजिडेंट एंड वट अ प्रेजिडेंट डू इन अ यूनिवर्सिटी। बट बिफोर बिकमिंग द प्रेजिडेंट, वो इम्पोर्टेंट था मेरे लिए। तो व्हाट आई डिड, द मेन इशू इन द कैंपस जहाँ मैं पढ़ाई कर रहा था, डेट वॉज कैंपस लॉ सेंटर एज अ लॉ स्टूडेंट, और आई कम फ्रॉम अ नॉन पॉलिटिकल बैकग्राउंड, फैमिली में कोई पॉलिटिक्स में नहीं है। उसके बाद जब इश्यूज़ को देखता हूँ अपने कॉलेज में, तो पीने के पानी का इशू था, साफ़ पीने का पानी। बहुत से लोगों ने फिर इनिशियली क्रिटिसाइज़ किया कि ये कोई इशू नहीं है, यू आर मेकिंग दिस अ इशू, आप इसको इशू ज़बरदस्ती बना रहे हो। मैंने कहा कि शायद आपकी बात ठीक हो, आप पानी प्रोवाइड करा दो, इशू वहीं ख़त्म हो जाएगा। तो इनिशियली आई स्टार्टेड विद अ प्रोटेस्ट एप्लीकेशन। एक नॉर्मल स्टूडेंट क्या करेगा, अपनी प्रिंसिपल को, डीन को एप्लीकेशन देगा और पानी की जो इश्यूज़ हैं उसको सॉल्व कराने की मांग करेगा। परंतु एप्लीकेशन देने के बाद भी सोल्यूशन हमें नहीं मिलता है। तो आई डिड अ प्रोटेस्ट। आप यकीन नहीं करेंगे, प्रोटेस्ट करने से पहले मैंने एक वीडियो रिलीज़ की, द पावर ऑफ सोशल मीडिया। वो वीडियो ऑलमोस्ट 1 मिलियन टच हुई। उस वीडियो में क्या था? उस वीडियो में ये था, आई गॉट ओनली, उस टाइम पे मेरे 1000-2000 फॉलोअर्स होंगे, पर वो मैटर नहीं करता। द पार्ट वाज इम्पोर्टेंट। जो पानी हम वाटर कूलर से पी रहे थे वो सेम पानी वॉशरूम में हाथ धोने के लिए यूज़ हो रहा था। दैट वाज दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी कैंपस लॉ सेंटर सिचुएशन। फिर जब वो वीडियो मैंने डाली तो उसका रिस्पॉन्स मिला। उसके बाद आई ऑर्गेनाइज्ड अ प्रोटेस्ट। उस प्रोटेस्ट में ऑलमोस्ट 500 स्टूडेंट्स आए, रैंडम स्टूडेंट्स निकल करके, और डीन ने जब भी बात नहीं मानी, उसके बाद एक हाई कोर्ट में मैंने रिट पिटीशन फाइल करी। तब तक आई वॉज नॉट एन एडवोकेट एंड स्टिल आई एम नॉट एन एडवोकेट। उसका भी रीज़न अभी बताऊंगा, कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस भुगतने पड़ते हैं। तो फिर मैंने जब रिट डाली तो आई वॉज द पिटिशनर इन पर्सन इन हाई कोर्ट, और जज साहब ने अमिकस क्यूरी अपॉइंट किया और फिर विज़िट कराया फिज़िकली के बच्चे झूठ तो नहीं बोल रहे। तब जाके उन्होंने देखा तो सेम सिचुएशन तब भी मिली। फिर 7 दिनों के अंदर ही जज साहब ने ऑर्डर दे के यूनिवर्सिटी को गाइडलाइंस और ऑर्डर में जारी किया कि नए वाटर कूलर्स इंस्टॉल किए जाएं, एसीज टाइमली इंस्टॉल किए जाए, वाईफाई जो नहीं चल रहा उसको फंक्शनल किया जाए। तो डैट वाज अ सक्सेस ऑफ अ नॉर्मल स्टूडेंट हु गॉट एडमिशन एज अ लॉ स्टूडेंट, और उसके बाद फिर मेरी पॉलिटिक्स में एंट्री हुई। तो दिस वाज माय स्टोरी फ्रॉम बिकमिंग अ डूसू प्रेसिडेंट, जब मुझे कोई नहीं जानता था। उसके बाद एक स्टूडेंट जिसने हाई कोर्ट में खुद पिटिशनर इन पर्सन बन के बच्चों को सोल्यूशन दिया। उसके बाद हर कॉलेजेस गया, जिस जिस कॉलेज में इशू थे वो रेज़ किए और उसका सोल्यूशन मिलता रहा। सिमिलर कंडीशन में अगर आज आप देखो द करंट पॉलिटिकल सिनेरियो, जो प्रोटेस्ट ऑर्गेनाइज हुई, आई वाज वन ऑफ द पार्ट ऑफ देम स्टार्टिंग में ही ऑन द इनिशियल डे। वो प्रोटेस्ट नॉन पॉलिटिकल लॉन्च हुई, हर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी उसमें शामिल हुई, और वो बच्चे उस प्रोटेस्ट में थे जो किसी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी से एफिलिएशन नहीं रखते, द क्राउड, और वो उस प्रोटेस्ट की, इस प्रोटेस्ट की सक्सेस थी। आज मैं अपने होम टाउन में था सोनीपत, तो यू वॉन्ट बिलीव कि जो बच्चे कभी पॉलिटिक्स का ABCD भी नहीं जानते थे, आज वो प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं, वो अपने राइट्स की बात कर रहे हैं, वो इस बात को समझ रहे हैं कि अगर हम आवाज़ नहीं उठाएंगे तो शायद कल को कोई भी आवाज़ नहीं उठाएगा। तो ये चेंज हमें इंडिया की पॉलिटिक्स में यूथ के पर्सपेक्टिव में देखने को मिला है, क्योंकि जब मैंने प्रोटेस्ट ऑर्गेनाइज की थी तब रैंडम स्टूडेंट्स पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे थे। अब ये मूवमेंट ऐसा बन गया जो नेशन वाइड देखा गया है, और नेशन वाइड अब यूथ सड़कों पर अपने राइट्स के लिए प्रोटेस्ट करने के लिए तैयार हुआ है। दिस वाज द चेंज आई ऑब्जर्व टुडे पर्सनली, जब मैं बच्चों से मिला। और सिमिलर कंडीशन में आप देखेंगे वेस्ट बंगाल में कोई प्रोटेस्ट की कॉल नहीं थी, पर बहुत बड़ी प्रोटेस्ट ऑर्गेनाइज हुई, स्टूडेंट्स की ही प्रोटेस्ट, और सिमिलर कंडीशंस पे अब बच्चे सड़कों पर आएंगे और आंदोलन करेंगे। और आज शिवोम भाई इनवाइटेड मी फॉर दिस डायलॉग। मैं शिवोम की भी बहुत तारीफ़ करना चाहूँगा इस मंच से। द रीज़न बीइंग, एक इंटेलेक्चुअल मंच देना सभी इंटेलेक्चुअल्स को इस उम्र में, मेरी भी उम्र 25 साल ही है, तो यूथ ही जब आगे आ रहे हैं तो आप अपने लाइन में काम कर रहे हो, हम अपने लाइन में काम कर रहे हैं, परंतु काम हो रहा है और वो लोग सामने आ रहे हैं जो कभी आइडेंटिफाई नहीं होते थे इस पॉलिटिकल सिनेरियो में। सो थैंक यू फॉर गिविंग मी द अपॉर्चुनिटी। किसी के कोई क्वेश्चन हो तो वो पूछ सकते हैं, अदरवाइज थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, Ronak, for your very kind words as well. Mr. Khatri, for your very kind words as well. And I'll open the floor up for POIs. Yes.
First, you mentioned that you're not an advocate currently. Why is that?
Also, why were you detained by Delhi police?
सो द करंट सिचुएशन इज़ मैंने अपनी ग्रेजुएशन DU से की, फिर पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन LLB के लिए मैंने DU एडमिशन लिया. फॉर गॉड सेक मेरे 6 के 6 सेमेस्टर में कोई बैक नहीं है. मैं मेरिटोरियस स्टूडेंट था. आई गॉट 92% इन क्लास 12th. मेरिट पे मैंने ग्रेजुएशन की, उसके बाद LLB में एडमिशन लिया. तो मेरिटोरियस स्टूडेंट था. LLB से ही मैंने DU इलेक्शन कंटेस्ट किया. मित्राविंदा वाज माय कलीग एंड द डुसू सेक्रेटरी एज वेल. मेरे डुसू टेन्योर में ही, मेरे डुसू टेन्योर से पहले भी इनफैक्ट जितने जो डुसू ऑफिस बेयरर्स थे दे केम फ्रॉम डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बुद्धिस्ट अदर देन मित्राविंदा, क्योंकि ये UG में ही इन्होंने चुनाव लड़ा अंडर ग्रेजुएशन में लक्ष्मीबाई कॉलेज से. बाकी लोग मैक्सिमम डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बुद्धिस्ट एडमिशन लेते हैं. डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बुद्धिस्ट की डिग्री शायद कभी काम आती नहीं है. वो सिर्फ एडमिशन इसलिए लिया जाता है ताकि बच्चा इलेक्शन लड़ ले. कम मार्क्स में एडमिशन हो जाता है, एंट्रेंस टेस्ट होता है. LLB का भी एंट्रेंस था. तो मेरी यूनिवर्सिटी ने डिग्री रोकी है. और रीज़न बीइंग यूनिवर्सिटी ने क्यों रोकी है, जितने काम मैंने करे थे यूनिवर्सिटी में, तो किसी ना किसी वाइस चांसलर को या रजिस्ट्रार को मेरे से खुंदक होगी. ये मैं आज भी मानता हूँ, क्योंकि मेरे फ़ोन वो उठाते नहीं हैं. मैंने बीच में डिस्कशन के लिए भी बात की थी. आप एक बात एज अ नॉर्मल सिटीज़न मैं पूछना चाहूँगा. यूनिवर्सिटी के दौरान जब मैं प्रेसिडेंट था, मेरी वेरियस इवेंट्स ऑर्गेनाइज किए, तो मैंने बुकिंग करी, बुकिंग फ्रॉम दी एज अ डुसू प्रेसिडेंट, कि आज मुझे ये फंक्शन करना है. सपोज दिस ऑडिटोरियम आई हैव बुक्ड एज ऑफिशियल कैपेसिटी ऑफ डुसू प्रेसिडेंट, और इसकी कॉस्टिंग 20,000 रुपये है जो यूनिवर्सिटी चार्ज करता है डुसू फंड से. वो फंड जो दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी स्टूडेंट यूनियन को देना चाहिए था, और अगर मुझे देना था, क्यों रोके, मैं शॉर्ट में ही समझाता हूँ, कि वो फंड मैंने जमा नहीं कराया. अगर मैंने जमा नहीं कराया तो मेरे को नोटिस ड्यूरिंग माई टेन्योर मिलना चाहिए था. एग्रीड. अगर मैं डुसू प्रेसिडेंट, मेरा टेन्योर अगस्त में ख़त्म हो गया, तो मेरे को नोटिस अगस्त से पहले रिसीव होना चाहिए था. मेरे को नोटिस रिसीव नहीं हुआ. मुझे नोटिस रिसीव्ड हुआ अक्टूबर में, जब मेरा डिग्री कलेक्शन का टाइम आ गया, कि यू हैव बुक्ड वेरियस इवेंट्स, और उसका आपका पेंडिंग ड्यूज़ ये बनता है, एंड यू हैव टू गिव टू द यूनिवर्सिटी फ्रॉम योर पर्सनल पॉकेट. मैंने यूनिवर्सिटी को लिखा कि जी सारे प्रोग्राम यूनिवर्सिटी में हुए, यूनिवर्सिटी के बच्चे आए, तो दैट शुड बी डिडक्टेड फ्रॉम द डुसू फंड, नॉट फ्रॉम माई ओन पॉकेट. बात यहाँ पैसे की नहीं है, बात इस बात की है कि डिग्री रोकी. तो चाहता मैं उस अमाउंट को क्लियर करके वहाँ से डिग्री ले सकता था, परंतु झुकना सीखा नहीं कभी. तो मैंने अभी दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट में केस कर रखा है, और केस अब लास्ट मोमेंट में है. 5 अगस्त को उसकी हियरिंग है. मैं खुद उसमें पिटिशनर इन पर्सन हूँ फिर से. और यूनिवर्सिटी को ये जज साहब ने कहा है कि आप वो रूल दिखाओ जिसमें आप बच्चे की डिग्री रोक सकते हो बेस्ड ऑन इस इरेगुलर या जो भी ड्यूज़ हैं. ड्यूज़ को साइड रख दिया कोर्ट ने एक बार को. कोर्ट ये कह रहा है अगर आपको कुछ रिकवरी करनी ही है तो आप रिकवरी सूट फाइल करो. अगर मेरे ऊपर वो एलिगेशन है तो वहाँ से आप रिकवर करो. तो अब यूनिवर्सिटी को वो रूल दिखाना है, और पूरी उसमें रूल बुक में कहीं वो रूल नहीं है कि आप किसी की डिग्री रोक सकते हो. तो फॉर्चुनेटली 5 अगस्त को वो डिग्री आ जाएगी. एंड भगवान की दया है मेरे पे कि मेरा केस भी जो दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट के बार प्रेसिडेंट हैं हरिहरन सर, वो फाइट कर रहे हैं. लास्ट हियरिंग उन्होंने जो है टेकअप करी थी कि दैट इज़ बिल्कुल इलीगल कि आप किसी की डिग्री रोक सकते हो. तो वो ऑब्वियसली आ जाएगी, रोक पाएंगे नहीं, अब फिर बन जाएंगे एडवोकेट. थैंक यू.
And what I'd said earlier was in jest. He wasn't actually apprehended by the police. It's just that there are a lot of security checks. Just for the record. Okay. Mr. Khatri, मेरे पास भी आपके लिए एक प्रश्न है. आप NSUI के एक हिस्से हैं, एक अहम हिस्से हैं मैं कहूँगा. NSUI कांग्रेस के तहत बहुत संबंध है. आप राहुल गांधी को अपना नेता मानते हैं. ये स्टूडेंट प्रोटेस्ट बहुत ज़ोरों शोरों से चल रही थी. बहुत आपके छात्रों की गूंज यात्रा हर जगह देश में चल रही थी, और ऐसा न्योता दिया गया था कि पटना में भी होगी, लखनऊ में भी होगी, प्रयागराज में भी होगी, दिल्ली में भी होगी. केवल कहाँ हुई? देहरादून. और किस वजह से ये हुई? राहुल गांधी जी एक हफ्ते के लिए फॉरेन वेकेशन पे चले गए. ये ऑफिशियल कांग्रेस मेमो था. मैंने प्रिंट में पढ़ा है. शेखर गुप्ता जी अगर देख रहे हैं तो शायद हमें बता सकते. कांग्रेस का मेमो था, हर न्यूज़ चैनल पे गया था. मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ
जब स्टूडेंट यहाँ पे प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे थे सीजेपी के ज़रिए, अलग अलग जो फेडरेशन है उसके ज़रिए, आप सड़कों पे थे, मैं आपकी रीलें देखता हूँ, राहुल गांधी जी फॉरेन वेकेशन पे कैसे चले गए?
देखिए, बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन है आपका कि छात्रों की गूंज एक कैंपेन स्टार्ट हुआ, और छात्रों की गूंज कैंपेन वाज फॉर द स्टूडेंट्स इटसेल्फ। और जब लॉन्च हुआ तो उसके बाद हर स्टेट में जो स्टेट यूनिट्स थी, आइदर NSUI और यूथ कांग्रेस, वो सड़कों पर थी। रेगुलर कॉलेज विजिट करके स्टूडेंट्स के रजिस्ट्रेशन हो रहे थे कि कौन इस कैंपेन को सपोर्ट करता है। तो कैंपेन पैरेलली चल रहा था। इन द मीनवाइल आपने देखा जब 20 तारीख को लाठीचार्ज हुआ, उसके द वेरी नेक्स्ट डे राहुल जी ने PM ऑफिस घर के बाहर घेराव करा सारे सांसदों के साथ, जिसमें मैं भी शामिल था। तो ही इज़ द मैन जो आज से नहीं यूथ की आवाज़ उठा रहा है। आज से 2 साल पहले जब पार्लियामेंट में नीट का मुद्दा उठा था तो ही वॉज द इंडिविजुअल ओनली जिसने नीट का मुद्दा उठाया। और जब मेरे डुसू ऑफिस राहुल जी आए थे, ही स्टेड फॉर ऑलमोस्ट 1.5 आवर, और वहाँ पर सिर्फ स्टूडेंट्स की बात हुई, न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसीज़ की इरेगुलरिटीज़ पर बात हुई, उसके लूप होल्स पर बात हुई। तो ऐसा नहीं है कि ही वेंट टू फॉरेन और उन्होंने छात्रों की बात को दरकिनार कर दिया। द फर्स्ट थिंग। द सेकेंड थिंग, किसी का पर्सनल डिसीजन भी हो सकता है, किसी की पर्सनल विजिट भी हो सकती है, पर्सनल ना भी हो, ऑफिशियल भी हो, किसी का पहले से प्लान हो सकता है, उसको तो हम नहीं रोक सकते। पर उनकी टीम सड़कों पर थी और आगे भी रहेगी। लीडर वो हैं, उनको लीडर पीछे से स्टूडेंट सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, वो उनकी यूथ कांग्रेस और NSUI की टीम है ही अवेलेबल।
A little point of contention. We both shared the same tenure. So when Mr. Gandhi came to the DUSU office, I would just like to say he did not only converse with the student, he also, without any permission, shut down the DUSU office. His people aggressively threw out the female students who were sitting there, especially in my office, locked the DUSU office. And then when I protested for the gates to be opened, since no prior permission had been taken from the university or the police personnel, I, along with other students who were manhandled, some supporters of Mr. Khatri also were involved in that manhandling. Just a point.
पॉलिटिकल मंच नहीं है मित्रा, ये डिस्कशन है। मैं क्लियर कर देता हूँ। जब राहुल जी ऑफिस आए थे तो मित्राविंदा वहाँ पर नहीं थी, पहली बात, और उनके कुछ कलीग्स थे वहाँ पर इनके ऑफिस में। इट वाज टाइम अराउंड 10 AM इन द मॉर्निंग, 10:30, इनकी बात को ऊपर कर रहा हूँ। तब वहाँ पर मित्राविंदा जी अपने ऑफिस में नहीं थी। उनके सिक्योरिटी जो भी स्टाफ है उनका, पुलिस का, वो चेक करता ही है ऑफिस को, जहाँ पे भी सराउंडिंग्स में जाते हैं, वो उनका अपना प्रोटोकॉल है। और उस सिक्योरिटी सर्विलियंस की वजह से जितने भी ऑफिस का, मेरे खुद के ऑफिस में सारे आइटम्स को निकाल दिया गया था, जो भी ऑब्जेक्शनेबल आइटम था, जो लगता था उनको, तो वो हटा दिया गया था। बाकी ऑफिस को बंद कर दिया गया था, एंड डेट वाज इज सिक्योरिटी प्रोटोकॉल। अगर PM आते हैं तो हमें तो एंट्री भी नहीं मिलती, रोड ब्लॉक कर दिए जाते हैं। आपको कम से कम, आप ऑफिस के तो बाहर थे, पहली बात। दूसरी बात, आप जो कह रहे हो कि ऑफिस को बंद कर दिया, आप जब आए, दैट वाज टू हाईजैक द मोमेंट कि अब आए हैं राहुल जी, हम विरोध कैसे करें उनका। तो विरोध नहीं होता, ही केम फॉर अ डिस्कशन। और रही आपकी कलीग्स की बात कि ऑफिस को बंद कर दिया, मैं खुद वहाँ मौजूद था। सबको ये बोला गया था कि वैकेंट दिस प्लेस, इस प्लेस को खाली कर दीजिए क्योंकि यहाँ राहुल जी आ रहे हैं। और रही बात परमिशन की, डुसू ऑफिस में किसी को बुलाने के लिए परमिशन की ज़रूरत नहीं होती, पहली बात। दूसरी बात, अगर होती है तो आप मुझे दिखा दो। यही बात मैंने अपनी प्रेस स्टेटमेंट में, प्रॉक्टर ऑफिस से लेटर आया था कि राहुल जी किसी परमिशन से DU ऑफिस नहीं आए। डुसू ऑफिस मेरा ऑफिस है, डुसू प्रेसिडेंट का ऑफिस है, उसके ऑफिस में आए हैं। और कहीं रूल बुक में, डुसू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में भी नहीं है कि यू हैव टू गिव अ फॉर्मल लेटर टू द प्रॉक्टर और एनी ऑफ द अदर ऑफिस बेयर।
If I could, and I'll take it up. First of all, DUSU is not anyone's public property, not the LOPs and not any other politicians. And बात वही है, जो चीज़ आई थिंक जो वर्तमान प्रोटेस्ट चल रही है उसमें भूली गई, वही इस दौरान भूली गई थी। प्रोटोकॉल के लिए परमिशन ज़रूरी होती है, सेफ्टी प्रोटोकॉल्स के लिए परमिशन लेनी ज़रूरी होती है। आप ही अगर राहुल गांधी जी को इस स्टैचर का व्यक्ति नहीं समझ रहे कि उनके आने के लिए परमिशन और इंटीमेशन देनी चाहिए, तो वो शायद आपकी अपनी समझ होगी। बट मुझे लगता है अगर LOP आ रहे हैं, in an educational institution और इतनी force के साथ आ रहे हैं, then at least he should inform the university. और presidential office में आने के लिए किसी की permission नहीं चाहिए होगी, but secretary office में आने के लिए, बंद करने के लिए students जो वहाँ बैठे हैं उनकी और मेरी permission चाहिए होगी. Thank you.
And I'd urge everyone to stick to the current protests. This seems like a homebound quarrel.
All right, our next speaker needs very little introduction. Mitravinda Karanwal. She served as the secretary of the Delhi University Students' Union from 2024 to 2025 on an ABVP ticket and has been actively involved in student leadership and campus affairs. She is known for her engagement on issues concerning students and university governance. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Karanwal to speak.
Also, we'll be coming around to collect your pre-voting ballots. I hope you've all voted. We'll come around in another 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. While I was invited, I was only told this would be a panel debate. So I may be a little underprepared for the podium. I would really request you all to bear with me if I lack somewhere. I am Mitravinda Karanwal. I was the secretary of Delhi University Students' Union in 2024. The only undergraduate representative in a very long time, and the only female representative at the time. So I won't be giving a personal monologue on my journey to DUSU here. I will be talking about the current topic, and the topic is the means and the end of the protest are justified. I will be speaking against the motion. पिछले वर्ष आपातकाल के 50 वर्ष पूरे हुए, and in remembrance of the sacrifices of the people who dared to dissent against the Indira government, I am now happy to see, as a young student, that India has really changed its way of replying, of accepting dissent by the youth, by the students. From the time when students were detained and put behind bars for merely doing or daring to oppose the then government, or their biggest shutdown of democracy in Indian history. From the time when Arun Jaitley ji, Hemant Bishnoi ji, who were then DUSU representatives, and many other activist students were taken up and were detained overnight from the Delhi University campus only because they dared to dissent against the then Indira government. I am happy to see that today, in the current India, students can protest without having to take permission. They can take up they can take up a stage in the middle of the heart of Delhi, and they would still be welcomed, and they would still be dealt with cooperation by the government. As someone who has climbed over barricades myself, as someone who has been at the other end of many lathi charges, as someone who has been greatly manhandled by police at several of protests that I have been involved in, both at the college level and at the university level, at the state level, there is one thing that I always remember. I am a citizen of a democratic state where law and order persist. I cannot expect that I would be violent towards a security personnel and there will be no retaliation. I am not justifying any kind of violence against a genuine students. But just as we cannot laugh off violence against genuine students, I emphasize on genuine students who were there on the protest, not the entirety of the people that were present there. Just as we cannot laugh it off, we can also not laugh off the abuses, the violence that was hurled at security personnel, at the very armed forces that were present there in the protest, especially on a day, especially a day or two before the Kargil Vijay Divas. So, coming to the topic, why the means and end of this protest cannot be justified. Let me give a perspective from ABVP's end, as I am also a member and the state joint secretary of ABVP Delhi. When NEET paper got leaked, ABVP was the first organization which demanded for a CBI investigation into this matter. Within the, I think, within 1 or 2 days, CBI investigation was launched after a direct dialogue with the ministry. After that, ABVP protested against NTA, National Testing Agency, something that has been overlooked the last few days.
National Testing Agency, there was a big problem. There is still a big problem with that structure, which was identified when ABVP decided to protest. And that structure was, NTA works on an ad hoc basis. NTA का जो staff होता है, वो outsource करा जाता है, contractual staff होता है. तो वहाँ पर permanent vacancies नहीं होती हैं, जिसका जो बहुत बड़ा एक जड़ है, which is a core cause of why corruption persists there. हमने demand रखी that ad hocism, that contractual vacancies, they should be stopped with immediate effect. National Testing Agencies देश की बहुत सारे important papers कराता है. It is liable for the future of many students, crores of students of India, and we cannot have temporary people dealing with the future of Bharat. That is the demand we put up. Along with this, we also demanded for the resignation of the NTA Director General, which also happened after that protest. Another thing, after the protest wrapped up on our end, ABVP had a National Executive Committee meeting, and in that meeting, a resolution was passed with the contribution of student leaders from campuses all around India, from all of the states, from all stages of the youth, whether it is a first year undergrad student or a PhD final year student, a student in need of a fellowship, or a student pursuing his internship under any academic council. Through their contributions, a resolution was made, a resolution was passed. In that resolution, many other structural demands and solutions were recommended through ministries. One of the major ones being fellowships not being very consistent and smooth in the Department of Science and Technology. There's a fellowship named Inspire She karke hota hai. It is a very valuable and very well sort of a fellowship given by the Department of Science and Tech. So these were the structural and solution-based process that ABVP followed for the protest. Now I do not mean everyone has to be that way. If people want resignation, if students want resignation, if students demand accountability in their own terms, that is completely justifiable, that is one's own right. But does that really justify giving platform to forces, political forces, who have been involved in separatist sentiments in India? Does that justify making it a whole political deal by inviting Aam Aadmi Party representatives and, for a somewhat non-political protest, for a student-led protest, the way the CJP leadership allowed political leaders, political babas to hijack that protest just to revive their failed political careers was एक तरीके से धोखा था to the students जो वहाँ पर अपने अधिकारों के लिए आए थे. Lathi charge should never be done. As someone who has, as I've told, as someone who has been on the end of it, it is never justifiable. When it was done in Uttar Pradesh against ABVP activists, we took a statewide protest. But in that protest itself, no security personnel was hurt, no security personnel was beaten. Just like we cannot laugh off the blue marks and जो नील पड़े होते हैं पिटाई के बाद on any student, just like they are intolerable. In that very same way, the way ACP Vivek Bhagat was beaten blue in that protest by people who were involved in that protest, I am pretty sure they were not genuine students, they were just a part of the bigger mass. That cannot be justified as well. My main issue is why the means cannot be justified. Because the CJP leadership was there when it was time to take the political limelight. वो आ गए अपनी नौकरी छोड़ के दिल्ली और he was very ready to stage the protest. But जब बात आई अकाउंटेबिलिटी की, जिसके वो ढंडोरे पीट रहे हैं दैट अकाउंटेबिलिटी शुड बी देयर, अकाउंटेबिलिटी की बात आई, उनसे पूछा गया वाई डिड वायलेंस टेक प्लेस, वाई डिड स्टोन पेल्टिंग टेक प्लेस, वाई वर व्हीकल्स ब्रोकन, वाई वॉज एन ऑटो रिक्शा ब्रोकन, वाई वॉज समवन सोर्स ऑफ इनकम ब्रोकन, अ सिविलियंस, अ टैक्स पेयर्स. तो वो कहते हैं कि यहाँ पर अराजकता फैलाने कुछ तत्व आए हैं, दे आर नॉट पार्ट ऑफ CJP एंड दे शुड लीव. दैट इज नॉट हाउ इट वर्क्स. यू कैन नॉट बी सेलेक्टिव अबाउट व्हेन यू टेक take accountability. You cannot just laugh it off. You cannot just let it go. So isliye I feel the means could have been better structured. The means could have been more accountable on both ends. Government should be accountable. That is established. But again, before me, Mr. Bhandari, who is not now here, he said one line. Accountability cannot be selective. Yes, accountability cannot be selective. हम लोग हाजी अफजल जो एक हिस्ट्री शीटर हैं, a Makoka accused from Seelampur who was seen with a group of goons in that protest, जब रात को वहाँ पर गाड़ियाँ तोड़ी गई, वहाँ stone pelting हुई, I was there in ITO on the day of 20th and I know for a fact कि हम लोग कितनी मुश्किल से बच के आए from that CP वाला central वाला area, even though वहाँ barricading थी, protection थी, but the crowd was so violent. The crowd that did not include students but goons who hijacked that protest. That is what made the means of the protest wrong, not justified. Violence can never be justified. And I would just like to close my statement कि शुक्र है आज की तारीख में राष्ट्रवादी सरकार इस देश में है. कांग्रेस होती तो शायद इमरजेंसी 2.0 लग चुका होता. Thank you.
Okay, we'll be entering points of information. First of all, does anyone have them from the panel? Yeah, okay, go ahead, please, Mole.
Ma'am, I just wanted to ask you a question about how Mr. Sonam Wangchuk was detained from the protest and how people, you mentioned something that was very interesting to me. You mentioned genuine students. नहीं है वहाँ पर बिल्कुल.
Wait, just get the mic.
There was genuine students and that is why I emphasized on genuine students.
Right.
I would hope I'm not misquoted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I found it very interesting to hear you talk about violence that was committed there. There are videos on the internet which show and prove that stone pelting was done by individuals after the trucks were placed there by the police. This has been proved by a lot of independent journalists. You can view all of that. Cases are getting escalated in the High Court, as it should. The police stopped barricading on the 20th July or at the Jantar Mantar. I was there in the evening at Jantar Mantar. I have a knee here, the bruising that you were talking about. I have gotten lathi charge. It's fine. The people there did not take it very seriously. The solidarity and the strength that the students showed, it was just humorous. We were all just making fun of it. But I just wanted to ask you, do you think that this extrajudicial use of force that was done towards Sonam Wangchuk, who you were talking about the means not being valid, an individual who was on a hunger strike for 26 days, what was so violent and oppressive to the state about his means that they picked him up, covered the stage with white blankets to hide the atrocious acts that they performed, and picked someone, a valid, voluntary citizen of the country, without his will, without his consenting will, and forced treatment upon him, and then lied about his presence? Do you think that that means is correct for the state to use?
Yeah, thank you. You want to go ahead?
Yes. So first of all, talking about Mr. Wangchuk, his contribution has been immountable and very respectfully. PIL to force feed and to have his protest end was filed by an independent individual. The court issued a statement, an order that he should be fed. So no irreversible damage is done on his body. And then he was taken away by the Delhi police. I do not support the force. I have never supported any atrocity that could have done from the state's end. But I am also saying that we cannot also just laugh off everything else that has happened on the other end. What happened with, yes?
Can I please just interject?
No, of course you can.
So the PIL that you're talking about, the High Court order mentioned regular medical checks and medical assistance, whatever to be provided. It did not mandate picking up Mr. Sonam Wangchuk from the state at 6:30 a.m. in the morning like a chore, which the state did extrajudicially. and that was not the High Court order.
Again, I said, I'm not justifying any mistake that could have happened on the state side. I'm not there as their spokesperson. I'm here to present my views, and I'm here to present on what I thought and what ABVP and what the general students must have interpreted the wrong means that happened during the protest. And we cannot ignore that mistakes happened on both ends. That would be saying कि मैंने करा है तो सही होगा और दूसरा कुछ भी करेगा तो गलत होगा. दूसरी चीज़ ये है, of course the way he was manhandled was completely wrong, and maybe there could have been a reason for it, but I do not know that reason, so I don't think it's justified. So I'm completely with you on that. He should not have been manhandled. He should not have been taken away like this. I did not make that point in my speech for that very reason, because I do not support him being taken away, and I'm happy that he is now recovering and he's doing well. I actually forgot because it's a long comment tha. I forgot the first question you asked me.
That was a very meaningful exchange, but should we move on to the second POI?
Of course.
Yeah, because we have a very veteran journalist and former CEO of NDTV, Mr. Pankaj Pachauri, also, who wants to make his remarks right after. Yeah.
My question is that if there were genuine students and there were these external forces present causing the violence, and the police brutality was a reaction to that, why did none of the police officials over there have name tags? Why were they pre-prepared for this violence to occur?
Police is always pre-prepared. I think for people who have gone to the protest for the first time would not know that. But अगर किसी कॉलेज की प्रोटेस्ट का छोटा सा पोस्टर भी निकलता है ना, तो उस एरिया में पुलिस फोर्स पूरे एरिया में तैनात रहती है. That is a part of protocol process. We would understand if we actually understand law and order and why permissions are important. Again, not justifying any brutality, but I am not justifying any brutality on both ends. Yes.
So, ma'am, you're saying a part of the preparation is the removal of name tags?
Sorry?
A part of the preparation is the removal of name tags. I just said, why were they prepared with no name tags? And you said that police is always prepared.
I did not hear the name tag wala version. I have an interpretation on that. I don't know
Civilian
what
clothing.
Again, I will not be pressurized into saying that I am representing or being a spokesperson for the state or the police. I am not here as one. I did not mention one-sided narrative of either of them, either of the students or the police. मैंने accountability on दोनों ends की बात करी है. बात रही name tags की, for my interpretation अगर दिल्ली riots की बात करी जाए, कुछ दिन पहले एक IB officer की लाश मिली है एक नाले से, who was stabbed 400 times, and there has been incidents where in protest. Yes, of course, you can open media for that, news for that, instead of Instagram. So उसकी अलग बात करी जाए, बहुत सी protest में ऐसा हुआ है that police personnel have been identified, their wives, their daughters have been threatened by the so-called protesters who were there in that protest, who were not students. So I think that could have been a reason, but again, I am not justifying it. I am just putting out my interpretation.
Now I'll be inviting two people who are very involved in politics, education, and the media. First of all, Mr. Pankaj Pachauri has been the former CEO of NDTV. He has been constantly on our screens for decades, and he's been sitting very patiently in our audience, and he'll be giving our first floor speech. Secondly, I'm going to be inviting Mr. Jaiswal, who is an educationist from Pench in Madhya Pradesh. He has devoted his life to educating the tribals in his own village, many of whom have lived very destitute lives throughout, but he's promoted them to the extent that many of them are working professionals today. They'll be making two floor speeches, after which if you have any questions and the panel is willing to wait, Mr. Khatri, we can entertain them as well. And now I'd like to invite Mr. Pachauri onto the stage. Thank you.
Thank you. I actually came to educate myself here. Seriously, and I am going back quite educated. Thank you for that. This is my second experience of Delhi Union, and one thing you guys do very well is to keep the nature and tenor of your debates better than any television channel debates. So congratulations. I think our anchors can come and take some, lessons from your video cast or whatever you are doing. So thanks a lot for that. Secondly, today's proposition is the means and ends of the student protests are justified or not. I'll talk about it just in a minute. I'm not going to take too much of your time. It's 7:30. Number one, the one thing I really want to address is here is about this whole issue whether students should be doing politics or not. That's a very big issue. Every political party which is in power, when they are in power, says that the student should not be in politics. What decides the student's future? Let's go step by step. Your fees is decided by politics. The budget the government spends on education is decided by politics. The budget is passed by the parliament, by all the politicians. Now, one fact. In 2011-12, the union budget spent 5% of its total on education. Last year, it was 2.5%. So the budget being spent on education has halved in last 12, 13 years. This is the budget which will be allocated to the organizations which are in education. Your University Grants Commission, your NTA, which has 30-40% people who are permanent, and rest is all outsourced to people. The budgets of all these organizations have been curtailed. That's why we are having these problems. The governments are relying on outside agencies for all these papers, and once you outsource something, leaks happen. Because the people who are dealing with this, such an important thing, a question paper for an examination, they know that the value of that question paper is very high. And if you have no responsibility and accountability, that value they will get by selling it and by sending it to quota. Why? In the history of SATs, there has been not a single instance where the SAT has been leaked. Why? Think about it. All of you must have sat in SATs, and we all inspire to get into that. So that is the issue here. Politics decides your fees, politics decides how your examinations are conducted, and politics decides what your syllabus would be, which my very knowledgeable colleagues have been talking. So why shouldn't students become political? Your future depends on it. You should understand politics. I was a very successful, sorry, you've been calling me CEO of NDTV. I've never been CEO of NDTV. That's a very, very difficult job. I was only the managing editor and an anchor. It stood, being political in college, stood me in very good stead in my professional life, because I knew exactly where the money was coming from and how the politics was deciding how to follow that money. All my investigative reporting and everything, it was very easy for me because I knew the politics, how it works. So our students should be political. Why the political parties, have their student wings? If they say that students should not be political, then SUI is there, ISA is there, SFI is there, ABVP is there. She'll say ABVP is not connected to Bharatiya Janata Party, but my dear friend, in 1989, I did a piece in India Today. Go to it. It's about the RSS, that how for the first time the RSS actually owned ABVP as its, they call it Anushangik Sangathan, sister organizations. And so was the BJP for the first time. So you are not connected vertically, but you are connected horizontally. Done? Yeah. So why these political parties, have this thing on every campus? Okay? The political leaders go there. They become the MPs. They become ministers. Why don't they say that we will not grant any political ticket to students? Why don't they do that? Because they want the students to be their hordes. हंगामा करना है, किसी की भी सरकार हो और कोई भी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी हो, तो आप बच्चों को, स्टूडेंट्स को जमा कर लो, ठीक है। वो पॉलिटिक्स में अपनी बात करना शुरू कर दे तो बोलोगे भाई तुम चुप रहो, पॉलिटिक्स मत करो। व्हाट इज दिस पॉलिटिक्स मत करो? When everything I'm doing in my life is decided by politics, my ration card is decided by politics, my scholarship is decided by politics, because the money being spent on me as a citizen is decided by politics. So understand politics. So that's one thing. Now we come to, so two things I've already said. One thing, that the level of debate here is better than any television debate I've seen lately. Well done. Second, be political. Well done. Third, the means and ends of the student protests are justified or not. I'm supposed to be an observer. Okay, I'm observer uncle. I appoint myself the observer uncle. The means and ends of this protest, लैंग्वेज खराब थी बहुत, मीम्स बहुत खराब लैंग्वेज में थे। मेलोनी की बात क्यों कर रहे थे? इंस्टाग्राम पे क्यों थे? भाई दे विल डिसाइड ना, दे हैव अ राइट टू चूज। द गवर्नमेंट कैन नॉट डिसाइड दैट द स्टूडेंट्स विल ओनली बी ऑन व्हाट्सएप एंड नॉट ऑन इंस्टाग्राम, और दे गेट देयर इंफॉर्मेशन फ्रॉम टेलीविजन चैनल्स विच दे डोंट लाइक एंड नॉट ऑनलाइन। So that is the, that those are the means. The language was very bad. They are listening to the same language. Where they are learning this language from? They are learning this language from the kind of media we have created. They are watching people fight every day on television. They have stopped watching television. They are watching people, the politicians talking to each other in this foul language, even in parliament. I read somewhere today, in Times of India, unparliamentary language. अरे वो सड़क पे खड़े हुए हैं तो parliamentary language कैसे बोलेंगे? So, the means, okay? The people who are protesting find their own means everywhere in the world. And the young people have found their own means, be it online, be it their language, what it is, and they forced it. I'll just end by saying, on means and languages, Goswami Tulsidas has said in Ramcharitmanas Balkand, which talks about Ramchandra's childhood, समर्थ को नहीं दोष गुसाई, जो समर्थ होता है उसको कोई दोष नहीं देता। तो मिनिस्टर का इस्तीफा हो गया, सब समर्थ हो गया, nothing succeeds like success. So your ends and means, they have both succeeded. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pachauri, to congratulate the student protesters. I must say that our union is a little nishpaksh in that, so we allow everybody to come on. But regardless, thank you so much, Mr. Pachauri, again, for the correction. He was the managing editor and the anchor. Now I'd like to call a very, very special speaker, Mr. Jaiswal, who's, as I mentioned before, someone who genuinely has come from Madhya Pradesh to protest against the current education minister and the current policies which are being followed, and is someone who works on the grass. It's easy to talk about it. It's easy to say that, we're changing education and we're creating reforms by standing here in the Constitution Club and in Delhi, but he's been working on ground and been uplifting tribal. So please, a huge round of applause for Mr. Jaiswal.
तो क्योंकि निष्पक्षता की बात चल रही थी, तो पहले तो एक डिस्क्लेमर है कि मैं निष्पक्ष नहीं हूँ इस डिबेट में, क्योंकि मैं तो जंतर मंतर पे था और कल थाने में भी था, हौस खास में जवाब आए थे। देखिए, मैं आपको अपनी व्यक्तिगत बात बताता हूँ। मेरा नाम गौरव जायसवाल है। मैं एक ज़िला है सिवनी में, वहाँ से आता हूँ। 2009 में मैंने अपनी एक छोटी सी नौकरी छोड़ी थी और मैंने तय किया था कि मैं शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में काम करूँगा। हमने सरकारी स्कूलों के साथ काम किया, ग्राम पंचायतों के साथ काम किया, टीचर्स ट्रेनिंग करने की कोशिश करी, करिकुलम्स बनाने की कोशिश करी, अलग अलग तरीके से नई नई चीज़ें प्रयास किया। 2015, 16, 17 तक आते आते मुझे एक बात समझ में आई, और वो ये समझ में आया कि शिक्षा पे काम करना और शिक्षा व्यवस्था पे काम करना दो अलग अलग बातें हैं। और जब तक हम शिक्षा पे काम करने का प्रयास करते रहेंगे एक लोकतंत्र के अंदर, तब तक वो प्रयास कभी सफल नहीं होगा। हमें काम असल में शिक्षा व्यवस्था पे करना पड़ेगा। और ये भारत की एक ऐतिहासिक कहानी है। देश जब आज़ाद नहीं हुआ था, और भारत की आज़ादी की लड़ाई में एक सबसे खूबसूरत बात है, और वो ये है कि भारत जब आज़ादी की लड़ाई लड़ रहा था तब हमारे देश में लगातार हमारे फोरफादर्स ये भी विचार कर रहे थे कि आज़ाद भारत होगा कैसा। ये बहुत कमाल की बात है। इस तरह की आज़ादी की लड़ाइयाँ कम है दूसरे देशों की। 1936-37 में सेवाग्राम आश्रम वर्धा में महात्मा गांधी से एक कॉन्फ्रेंस में पूछा गया कि आप बताइए, देश आज़ाद हो जाएगा, देश की शिक्षा व्यवस्था कैसी होगी, क्या पढ़ाएंगे बच्चों को। गांधी जी ने कहा हम बच्चों को चरखा चलाना सिखाएंगे। क्यों सिखाएंगे चरखा चलाना? क्योंकि जब बच्चे चरखा चलाना सीखेंगे तो सबसे पहले तो उनको एक स्किल आ जाएगी, स्पिनिंग आ जाएगी। कुछ नहीं करेंगे तो चरखा चला के 2 पैसा कमा लेंगे। उसी से फिजिक्स सीखेंगे, सर्कुलर मोशन। उसी से मैथमेटिक्स सीखेंगे, कैलकुलेशन सीखेंगे। और उसी से वो ये भी सीखेंगे कि समाज में गैर बराबरी को और अन्याय को पहचानते कैसे। क्योंकि उन्हें समझ में आएगा कि एक गरीब किसान जो कपास उगा करके लाता है, उसे अपनी मेहनत का दाम नहीं मिलता और वो आधा नंगा खड़ा है सड़क पे। लेकिन वही कपास जब मैनचेस्टर और लंकाशायर के मिलों में जाता है और वहाँ से कपड़ा बन के आता है तो 1000 गुना दाम में इसी बाजार में बिकता है, और भारत का ही व्यक्ति अपनी मेहनत के पैसे से उसकी कीमत चुकाता है। इसी को कहा गया हैंड, हार्ट एंड माइंड। देश आज़ाद हुआ, सबने सपना देखा कि अब समय आएगा, शायद गांधी जी का सपना पूरा होगा, देश में वैसी शिक्षा व्यवस्था बनेगी। 20 साल बीते, कुछ नहीं हुआ। 1968 आया, कुठारी कमीशन। भारत में पहली बार ये बात कही गई कि किसी भी सरकार को यदि शिक्षा व्यवस्था सही बनानी है तो उसे अपने जीडीपी का 6% या कुल बजट का 20% शिक्षा पर खर्च करना होगा। 68 से 78 आया, 78 से 88, 88 से 98। साल बीतते गए, बहुत सी सरकारें आई, अलग अलग सरकारों ने अलग अलग समय पर इसको लगातार प्रॉमिस किया। 2014 में जब मोदी जी की सरकार आई, उस वक्त उनका जो मैनिफेस्टो था वो अलग अलग पार्ट्स में डिवाइडेड था। तो उसमें जो एजुकेशन का पार्ट था उसका पहला पॉइंट था कि 6% जीडीपी का देंगे, पहला पॉइंट 2014 में। और उस साल का जो इंटरिम बजट था, क्योंकि एक सरकार जा रही थी नहीं आ रही थी, तो अंतरिम बजट जो आया था उसमें 2.8% जीडीपी का सरकार ने शिक्षा पे खर्च किया। ऐतिहासिक रूप से ये जो पिछले 12-13 साल हुए हैं, सबसे ज़्यादा रेशो प्रपोर्शन में जो सबसे ज़्यादा बजट कम हुआ है वो इन सालों में हुआ। 2.1% तक गया है नीचे। प्रश्न ये है कि हम अपनी शिक्षा व्यवस्था पे खर्च क्यों नहीं करने तैयार। हमारे लिए बाकी सब प्रायोरिटी, शिक्षा ही प्रायोरिटी नहीं है भाई। तो जिस देश में शिक्षा सरकारों की प्रायोरिटी ही नहीं होगी तो वहां क्या ही होगा। पिछले इतने दिनों में एक बहुत बड़ी उम्मीद जगी है लेकिन, और वो ये जगी है कि आज़ादी के बाद से अभी तक पहली बार देश का युवा सड़क में खड़े होकर के शिक्षा मांग रहा है। अभी तक हमने कभी शिक्षा नहीं मांगी थी। हमारे देश में बहुत आंदोलन हुए, तरह तरह के आंदोलन हुए, लेकिन पहली बार देश का युवा शिक्षा की मांग कर रहा है। ये बहुत कमाल की बात है। और सरकारें क्यों करेंगी भाई? ये तो डेमोक्रेसी है ना, जनता जो मांगेगी उसको मिलेगा। अब जनता ने शिक्षा मांगी, अब सरकारों को देनी पड़ेगी। इतने साल में तो हमने नहीं मांगी थी। जब जब जो मांगा है असल में डेमोक्रेसी में मिला भी है, क्योंकि लोकतंत्र का यही नाम है, यही काम है, लोकतंत्र ऐसे ही चलता है। तो पहली बार शिक्षा पे एक सार्वजनिक विमर्श तैयार हुआ है। लेकिन यहां पे एक जिम्मेदारी बनती है, और वो जिम्मेदारी ये बनती है कि यहां से अब अगले 15-20 साल बहुत मेहनत करना पड़ेगा। महात्मा गांधी कहते थे, एक कदम संघर्ष का और एक कदम निर्माण का। कोई भी व्यवस्था बनानी है तो उसमें संघर्ष और निर्माण दोनों जरूरी है। यदि सिर्फ संघर्ष करेंगे तो भी गड़बड़ है और सिर्फ निर्माण करेंगे तो भी गड़बड़ है। तो संघर्ष का कदम बढ़ा है, अब यहाँ से निर्माण का कदम भी बढ़ाना है। हमें मास स्केल पे इंस्टीट्यूशन बिल्डिंग करनी पड़ेगी, पॉलिसी रिफॉर्म्स करने पड़ेंगे। एक पूरी पीढ़ी को अपना जीवन इस रिफॉर्म में खपाना पड़ेगा ताकि अगली पीढ़ी को कुछ मिल सके। मैं एक बार मेघालय गया था घूमने, और वहाँ पर जो खासी आदिवासी हैं वो एक तरह का पुल बनाते हैं। आप लोगों ने उसका फ़ोटोज़ वीडियोस देखे होंगे शायद, उसको कहते हैं लिविंग रूट ब्रिजेस। लिविंग रूट ब्रिजेस जब मैं देखने गया तो उसमें होता यह है कि 2 पेड़ लगाते हैं पहाड़ी के दोनों तरफ और उसकी जड़ों को आपस में गूंथ देते हैं। वो जड़ें धीरे धीरे मजबूत होती हैं और मजबूत होते होते एक स्थिति ऐसी आती है कि वो इतना मजबूत पुल बन जाता है कि उसमें से लोडेड ट्रक भी क्रॉस कर सकता है। डबल डेकर भी बनाते हैं। जब मैं वहाँ गया और मैंने उसको देखा तो मुझे जो सबसे कमाल की बात उसमें देख करके समझ में आई वो ये थी कि इसे बनाने में 76 साल लगते हैं लगभग, क्योंकि पेड़ लगता है, पेड़ बड़ा होता है, उसकी जड़ें आती हैं, आपस में घुसती हैं। तो जो उसको बनाना शुरू करता है वो कभी उसका उपयोग नहीं करता। वो लोग जिन्होंने इस देश की डेमोक्रेसी को पहली बार अपने लिए अर्जित किया था, वो कभी उन्हें उस डेमोक्रेसी का फ़ायदा नहीं मिला। तो हमें भी ये समझना पड़ेगा कि अब यहाँ से जो शिक्षा व्यवस्था के पुनर्निर्माण का काम है उसके लिए एक पूरी जनरेशन को ये तय करना पड़ेगा, ये मानना पड़ेगा और इस काम में लगना पड़ेगा कि इसका फ़ायदा हमें नहीं मिलेगा लेकिन अगली पीढ़ी को मिलेगा। खुशी की बात यह है कि अगली पीढ़ी ने आवाज़ बुलंद कर दी है। अब हमारा काम है कि हम लग करके इस पुनर्निर्माण के काम को अगले 20 साल में पूरा करें, नहीं तो ये आवाज़ ख़राब हो जाएगी। ये जो बच्चों ने डंडे खाए हैं और इतनी ब्रुटैलिटी हुई है और लोगों की का मास स्केल में जिसको जन चेतना कहते हैं, जो जन चेतना जागृत हुई है, जन चेतना की ऊर्जा को रिफॉर्म की प्रोसेस में लगाना है, लगे रहना है, और संघर्ष करने की भी ज़रूरत होगी और निर्माण करने की भी ज़रूरत होगी। दिस इज इट। थैंक यू। जय हिंद।
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to extend our sincere gratitude to our sponsors, Vakil Saab, for today's event. Vakil Saab is India's leading anonymous legal assistance platform committed to making trusted legal advice accessible, affordable, and confidential for everyone. Every day, a student somewhere faces a legal question and has nowhere safe to ask it. No name to give, no fear of judgment, just someone who needs an answer. That is the problem Vakil Saab was created to solve. Built on the principles of anonymity, accessibility, and affordability, Vakil Saab ensures that confidentiality comes first. Anyone seeking legal guidance can call their number on their website, speak to a Vakil Saab executive, and be connected to a verified lawyer through their secure dashboard. Until the caller chooses otherwise, their identity and contact details remain protected and are never shared with the lawyer. With over 3,000 verified lawyers and 20,000 clients already registered on the app, Vakil Saab is the leading legal platform in India. With the Vakil Saab app now available on both Play Store and Apple App Store, legal assistance is always within reach. And for those who prefer to speak to someone immediately, their dedicated call center is just one phone call away. In uncertain times, one uninformed decision can have lasting consequences. Vakil Saab believes that before taking a step, people deserve the opportunity to seek trusted legal guidance, stay informed, stay within the law, and stay safe. More than just a legal helpline, Vakil Saab is a trusted companion through every challenge. Anonymous, accessible, and always ready to help. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please have a round of applause for Vakil Saab? Thank you.
And with that, we bring ourselves to the end of today's debate. Namaste everyone, I'm Ariman Pragya, and it's my honor to serve as the President of the Delhi Union. On behalf of our entire team, I would once again like to begin by extending my heartfelt thanks to all of you who are with us in the audience, all of those who are watching us at home, and all of our panelists. Today's discussion has once again reminded us that difficult questions should not be avoided. They should be confronted openly, honestly, and respectfully. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, the results. Just a recap of how we calculate our votes. We do a pre-debate ballot and a post-debate ballot, and we calculate the percentage change and see which side has been able to convince the mind change of more people. So, before the debate, the proposition was ahead by 32%. After the debate, the proposition was still ahead, but now by only 27%. Despite the opposition not being here anymore, they have still won today's debate. So, I can assure you there was no vote chori, but that is how the people have voted. And yeah, and we respect what the people want. Today we've shared a space where every side was heard, every argument was very, very challenged, and every viewpoint was given the respect it deserved. Before we conclude, I'd once again like to thank all our speakers, our guests, and the entire Delhi Union team for another successful event. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much.